Doing well on yourself?
How are you?
Hey, Sash. Do you have this in the prompter so I have their first and last names? Oh, nice sweaters, boys.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think I'm going to have you two.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, guy.
Oh, 3 dots and a
Tyler,
dash.
yeah.
There we go.
Kevin.
Kevin, nice.
Okay. Hey, gents.
What's up, man?
How are you?
Tyler, doing well on
Tyler?
yourself?
He's got to
Nice to
kind
meet
of build
you.
drinks, so he's going to kind of have to
Tyler,
stand
and we
this one.
got-
Hey, Kevin.
Kevin.
All right. Very good. Very good. Ooh.
We're going to make drinks.
All right.
in the middle. And you're going to make the drinks in the middle, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Anthony, you're on this side.
Okay.
And this is 4 minutes long.
Okay.
What do you put inside here? Is this a base?
It's usually a cocktail comes in there, but we're not making that cocktail today.
Put a cocktail in?
That's it,
Yeah,
bud.
big one.
Oh man. You know, I've been
Mickey, you
there.
Mickey?
I've been
Yeah.
to the 3 dots and a dash.
Oh, you're
I've
Mickey.
split something
I'm
this
Mickey.
size with
Yeah.
a couple of buddies of mine, Guy.
Unless you're not in the mood.
It was very fun.
I could make it.
Yeah.
I'll make it.
You probably make it two. Or just one?
2.
Two?
Well,
That's a good question.
2.
It's just the three of us?
Just the 3 of
All
us.
right, fantastic.
Just the thing.
Clicked on my cameras and I saw that it was glass all inside of my location. So I jumped up right away, told my wife I had to go, came into 43rd and police was already there, did a walkthrough, immediately called my daughter Tara and said, look, I need you to run the cameras back and see what we got. And I noticed that next door they had been broken into. I went and checked on the employee over there and started cleaning up, and the community responded. People were showing up at 5 in the morning to help me clean up. It's just been a emotional day, so a lot happened.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are so many different emotions. So one of the reasons it enrages people to see what's happened to you is because you are so intentional about giving back in the community. It's literally in the mission statement of your business to pour into the hearts and spirits of communities. So from an emotional standpoint, walk me through and, the roller coaster you've been on today.
Well, it was a plethora of emotions when it first happened, but right away I started leaning on my faith. You know, my mom's 103 and she always said, baby, could have been worse. So I started hearing her voice when I was like, Lord, help me. I think the first thing I did when I got up, I did a quick video and I said a few curse words like, Lord, give me strength, because I really want to hurt someone. I was so angry because I had just less than 24 hours ago went and helped my buddy Yaya at Sean Michelle because he had got broken into. Before I can even recover from that, here it is, I'm getting broken into again, less than a month and a half. So at first it was anger, disappointment, and then it was like rejuvenation. Could have been worse. This is just going to give me more inspiration, resilience. You know, I'm built for this. And, ain't nothing going to stop me.
I love to hear that. What was the conversation like between you and Yaya, another community pillar?
Me, Yaya, and a brother that's a friend of ours, Jamal, years ago was writing down on napkins what we was going to do in the communities. And we were just referring back to that, talking about how everything has came to the points where we got brick and mortar now. We're doing things in the community, hiring in the community, and this happens. This is just the devil trying to knock us off track. And you know what? The devil's alive. We're going to continue to build. We're going to continue to pour into the community. So I'm staying positive. This is just, as I always say, a minor setback to prepare us for the major comeback.
Oh, there you go. There you go. What would you say to those who did this?
I would say learn about our business. Come in there and sit down. You will see that it's people in there that's trying to help you, whether it's education, real estate, dealing with financial literacy. The place is welcoming. It's like a modern day Cheers. Everybody knows everybody. It's love in there, positive vibes. If they knew this, they would have never have done this. So I would say to them, take the time, learn about what people are doing in these businesses, and it'll be nothing but a lot of love. It won't be all these break-ins and shootings and carjackings in the community.
Yeah, if they could just see and really understand, you guys are people who actually want to help change lives of people who would be doing something like that. It's pretty wild. You know, you have several locations. Let's talk about how many locations you have now, and you promised you're going to keep building. So what are some of the things you'd like to see moving forward?
One of the things I like to see is more community participation, even though I have it in 43rd and 47. And what I mean by that, we have events, we do programming. Come out and support them things. We have mental health that we deal with, financial literacy. We deal with trust and wills, because in the community I'm in, a lot of us don't know about these things, and you have to pay for it. Well, I make sure I sponsor it for free 99. So often we hear about our community doing GoFundMe when people lose buildings and all that. If they learn about the structure, the foundation of what we can do right now, it would help us in the long run to be more financially stable, more mentally prepared, and learn more about business. So I would like people to get more in tune. We're not just coffee, we're an experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I remember, you know, coming out and hanging with you all at your 53rd location in Hyde Park. So how many locations is it now?
I think it's currently 5 last time I checked.
You still trying to add more?
We'll see if it makes sense. Right now, I just want to show up what we got, improve upon the 5 C's, that crisp, clean, classy, consistent customer service. Create a few more jobs, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Do moments like this at all make you second guess some of this?
One thing I am is totally transparent. And yes, sometimes, I don't want to call it second guess. Sometimes you just get discouraged and disheartened, and that's part of life. But I don't let that last long. You know, depression is real, mental health is real. I keep saying to myself, you know, I was in the Marine Corps. I worked for the government 38 years. If I could deal with that, I can deal with anything. So to be totally transparent, it's disheartening. It's hurtful. And sometimes when I'm alone, I deal with it in different ways, but it only fuels my fire.
Yeah, yeah. And you said that the community really started coming out first thing this morning. How have people been pouring back into you?
Oh my God, they came in today and lined up. Not only are they purchasing stuff, people are asking. A couple of people came in there and just dropped a $100 bill on the common interest just to take care of the window. Some people that came in there and start trying to empty the garbage, sweep, and it's just so much. It's overwhelming. I haven't been able, and I want to apologize in advance for all the people that has DM'd me, text me, called me, left messages. I promise you I'm going to get back to you. The love is overflowing, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys. I love you more than you know. SIP Nation shows up and shows out.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's because of how much you've done in time. Are there some other ways that people can help you?
Continue to support us. Pray for all of us. And when I say us, I mean all the communities that have small business that are doing any and everything they can just to keep the doors open. Know that behind the scenes, it is not all gravy.
Yeah.
Pray for us. It's a very difficult time right now. It's a different world we live in without going into all of that. All we have is each other. Keep supporting us, keep coming through, and pray for us.
Yeah. I watched your video and saw when you pulled up and the police were there. Where are things in terms of an investigation?
Well, we got some preliminary information. I done shared it with the police. It looks pretty good. It appears as though it's a crew of people that's going around just causing havoc in different neighborhoods. Bronzeville, Hyde Park, Wicker Park, South Shore, and just bored, on drugs. I don't know what the hell's going on, excuse my language. It's just weird. Hopefully they'll catch these people and we can get back to some type of normality.
Absolutely. Are you open for business at that location throughout the rest of the day? I mean, what does the rest of your day look like?
Come on now, you know me, Anita. I don't play. I love school calls at recess. We was open the same day. The window was already put, the doors already put back in. I was in there today serving up lattes and mochas for the last few hours and just ran to a meeting. So no, we don't play. We don't play. We're open. We're closing early because a couple employees didn't feel that well, but we're open for business at all the other locations.
And what do you say to aspiring business owners in Chicago? I mean, obviously they're seeing you, they've seen your success, your rise as you've been building your business. And so maybe sometimes when you see someone like yourself go through this, you're like, wait, should I jump into business? What should I be considering? What are some pieces of advice that you would give, especially after today?
I'm not one that really gives advice, but I can let you know what I deal with. I would say entrepreneurs are cut from a different cloth. We just built different. Unless you're ready to sacrifice your relationships, your credit score, your health almost, don't go into this game because it takes up all of your time. And that's not to discourage people. It's to let you know what we deal with each and every day. You have to be doing something bigger than self, first of all. You can't go into this to make money. You go into it to make a difference. And hopefully you will make money down the road. But my whole intention, and like you said, I'm unapologetic and I'm intentional about this, is to show that we deserve better. We need to have something that's classy in our communities, that's safe, secure, where we could do things positive. So my advice, if you want to look at it as advice, is if you go into this game, know that it's not for the faint of heart. Get ready to work long hours, get ready to lose some friends and family. But in the long run, I wouldn't have it no other way. It's the most fulfillment I've had since being married and having kids, to be honest.
Trez, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your heart. And I hope all of your locations are flooded with support today and well beyond. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Love you, Anita. You always supported me and you've always been there for me. Let's talk later.
Absolutely. You take care, okay? All right, it's 1:12 right now, and the governor is now speaking about small businesses. So let's listen in.
Park and to the commuter stations and the farmers market. And from there, she sought out a partnership with Sketchbook Brewing and had a pop-up coffee shop in there. And here she is today. So without further ado, thank you for coming to Skokie. Thank you, Governor, and State of Illinois, and all of our partners for your support. And it's my honor to introduce my friend and neighbor, Christina Perez-Thomas.
Good afternoon and welcome to So Good Coffee. My name is Christina Perez-Thomas and I am deeply grateful to be standing here today. As a girl who grew up in Logan Square in Chicago, I never imagined a moment like this would be possible for me. So Good began as a dream that I carried quietly for many years, a dream to create a cafe and a business that was rooted in purpose and in community. But the road to business ownership wasn't easy, as many small business owners can attest to. There were moments of big doubt and fear and dealing with rising costs and just moments of not knowing how we were going to move forward. But every step of the way, this community showed up for us. They lent a helping hand, they spread the word, they told their friends, and they cheered us on. And I can say that So Good exists today because we built it together. And as Mayor said, we started as a coffee truck, a coffee trailer 4 years ago, traveling all around Skokie to different neighborhoods and intentionally getting to know people from all walks of life. And it was because of those community connections that we were able to open various mini pop-up cafes and then eventually plant permanent roots right here on Main Street, down the street from where I'm raising my family. And so that's why receiving this capital and infrastructure grant means so much to me personally. It's not just funding for the build out of this beautiful space, but it's the investment in small businesses. And when we invest in small businesses, we invest in the courage of everyday people. We invest in hope and in opportunity and in the belief that anyone from any background, even a girl from Logan Square, can build something meaningful, rooted in purpose. And so I just want to thank you all for believing in small businesses like ours and for allowing and offering resources to help us grow and continue serving the communities that we cherish. And I'd like to thank all the elected officials for making time in your schedule to be here today. And now it is truly my honor and privilege to introduce someone that has been a longtime champion of small businesses across our state, Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Great to see you. Great to be here. Thank you for welcoming me. And I really am proud to be here to announce yet another round of grants supporting Illinois small businesses. From corner stores to cafes to, well, burgeoning manufacturers, small businesses are the job creators at the heart of the Illinois economy, and they're the pride of so many communities across the state. That's exemplified in our hosts today. Of course, Christina and the team at Soul Good Coffee here in Skokie have, well, they've anchored this area, and together with Zelda's, which I'm also a customer of Zelda's, and have known for a long time. And of course, Main Street, I want to add, is also the street on which the original Holocaust Museum was opened. And so I'm quite familiar with the area. And it is folks who are starting things up, folks who are serving residents and families while investing into their hometown. They're aligning their own growth and their success with the growth and success of their customers and their neighbors. Soul Good is an exemplar of how small employers make a difference for the communities that they serve. I also want to thank our mayor here in Skokie, Ann Tennis. Again, new leadership in a village that's had so much success. It's great to see you at work, and I know you've been promoting this village for quite some time, and we're grateful for that. Love a good promoter of the community. I want to also recognize Assistant Director Cameron Yost of the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, my colleagues in the General Assembly, Senator Laura Fine, Representatives Jennifer Gahn-Gershowitz, Representative Kevin Olikel, for their partnership in uplifting and easing the burdens that challenge our small businesses. And of course, Commissioner Morita, thank you for your leadership in the county. With nearly $10 million in funding awarded, this round of grants will reach 47 small businesses in communities all across Illinois, supporting the hard work, the creativity, and passion of entrepreneurs and their employees, rather. And I do want to just point out, this is not the first time that we've made grant awards for small businesses. It won't be the last time. It's quite important to all of us, especially those in elected office, to see the community spurred on with support from the state government and local government. At the center of our economic vision for this state is our focus on job creation. And these merchants sustain quality jobs, anchor downtowns and commercial districts, provide vital goods and services, play an integral role in supply chains, and they bolster the strength and diversity of our economy. Most new jobs come from startups and small businesses. In fact, it's about 55% on average of new jobs that get created in Illinois and across the country are because of, well, entrepreneurs willing to take a risk. And, you know, the biggest companies in Illinois that are among the biggest in the world, I'm sure you know many of their names, got started as small companies, just like Soul Good Coffee. Starting and growing a business requires risk takers willing to invest their own capital and talent to get something going. And they are the heroes of the economic engine of Illinois. Even more than that, small businesses define the character of our communities. They are owned and operated by our neighbors. They share in our values and our traditions. They are, well, part of the soul of a village and a city. You go to any small town or city or neighborhood in Illinois, and you'll find places just like this where people go to work, to gather, to connect with one another. And these businesses are what make Illinois who we are. Often, as I said about Soul Good, they're the exemplars of the community. Over the past few months, while federal agents have occupied our streets, Soul Good has been a place where community members can meet and feel safe and check in with one another. Soul Good understands that this isn't just a business, it's a community institution. And that's the spirit that we are here today uplifting. The Small Business Capital and Infrastructure Grants Program assists qualified businesses across the state in capacity building investments, from facility improvements to property acquisitions to equipment upgrades. For the businesses, that means expanding operations, reaching into new markets, increasing efficiency and revenue. For communities, it means jobs and economic activity and investment. I've met with owners and employees all across Illinois. They often face the same challenges while working on slim margins and stretching every dollar to compete. These grants are about bridging the gap between those margins and the ambition of these entrepreneurs, providing the fuel for local enterprises to invest in their vision, in their employees, and in their communities. Now, I also want to say that it's an especially important time for us to double down on our commitment to lifting up small businesses and local communities. After these enterprises have battled through COVID-19 and inflation, the tariffs that are now being imposed by the administration in Washington are making it even harder for small businesses to get by. Prices are increasing on the goods that these small businesses have to buy to produce the products that they do, while fewer people can afford to pay the higher prices. It's a tax on consumers and businesses alike. I've said this many times before, but I just want everybody to understand, tariffs are taxes. Tariffs are taxes. If you pay higher prices today, it's because Washington is imposing tariffs on the goods that make these businesses go. Nevertheless, the state of Illinois remains laser-focused on the economic agenda that fights back against these tariffs, promotes shared prosperity, and helps grow our entrepreneurial environment. So with that, and actually before I turn it over, I just want to say one last thing. When you send really great leaders to Springfield to represent you, it makes our job so much easier, and especially it's great for the community, because I know that I can rely on the people that you elected. They're standing behind me. These are great people, and when they want something for the community, they pound on my door. If I'm not already listening, they will make me listen. And I very much appreciate that, because I can't know what's happening in every community across the state unless people who represent those individual communities bring the challenges and problems of families and businesses to my attention. And I'm very appreciative of that. So with that, I'm now happy to pass this podium over to an advocate, a champion of small businesses, our DCEO Assistant Director, Cameron Yost.
Thank you, Governor Pritzker, for the introduction. Good afternoon, and as the governor said, my name is Cameron Yost, and I'm the Assistant Director of the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, or DCEO, and I'm truly thrilled to be here today to help announce $10 million in funding for Illinois' small businesses. I also want to thank Christina and the entire staff and team here at So Good Coffee. And I also, Christina, have to give a shout out to your family who's also here today, who I'm sure have been extraordinarily supportive and wonderful throughout this whole process. DCEO's mission is to create equitable economic development opportunities for all Illinoisans. And we do that by administering thousands of programs and grants that provide resources to businesses and create good paying jobs. The Small Business Capital and Infrastructure Grant is a prime example of DCEO's impact in action, uplifting our state's underrepresented communities and small businesses. I want to thank my colleagues in DCEO's Office of Economic Equity and Empowerment, led by Rebecca Estrada, who's joining us here today, for implementing good public policies that make days like today possible. Through this program, DCEO will provide funding to 47 small businesses all across the state, helping them achieve sustainable growth, improve operations, and create and retain jobs. Illinois' small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and no one understands that more than Governor Pritzker. I want to thank Governor Pritzker and all the members of the Illinois General Assembly for continuing year after year to give DCEO the tools we need to provide resources to our communities, invest in our employers, and bolster our local economies. Together, we are reinforcing why Illinois is the best place to live, work, and do business. Thank you so much for having me today, and with that, it's my pleasure to introduce State Senator Laura Fine.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am so proud to represent this community because this is a community that's in a state that cares. And it's a state and a community that works to lift our neighbors. And we know that when we help local businesses grow, we strengthen the heart of that community. I'm grateful to Governor Pritzker. Thank you so much for putting Skokie on the map today, and for the department for uplifting our community through the Small Business Capital and Infrastructure Program. We are an area that's had our punches in the last several weeks, and it's so nice to be here to celebrate with people who've really helped us come through a really challenging time and have lifted us all. And a big shout out to the mayor, to Christina, to my colleagues in Cook County, the General Assembly, and Governor Pritzker, because this is all teamwork, and this is how we get it done. So I'm very proud to be here and celebrate with all of you for another investment in Skokie's future. Over the past 14 years, I have watched dozens of entrepreneurs come into our districts. Entrepreneurs give us their talent, they give us their culture and their creativity, and they truly serve all of us. So I want to welcome our newest neighbor, who is not a stranger to the neighborhood and is investing back where her family lives, and Soul Good Coffee for everything you are doing for our community. You truly reflect the very best of Skokie, our district, and our state, and I am thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much, and with that, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Representative Gon Gershowitz.
Good afternoon. It's wonderful to be here at Soul Good Coffee, a business that truly lives up to its name. I want to thank Governor J.B. Pritzker and the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity for their commitment to investing in small businesses across our state. And I want to extend a huge congratulations to the entire Soul Good team on being selected for this impactful business and capital infrastructure grant. As the state representative for Skokie, I could not be prouder to celebrate this moment right here in our community. Soul Good Coffee is more than a place to grab a cup of coffee. It's a place built on love, service, and connection. From their early days operating out of a cafe truck to opening the doors of this beautiful brick and mortar location in September, they have shown what we can do when passion meets perseverance. And Skokie noticed. In 2023, Soul Good was named Skokie's Business of the Year, not just for great coffee, but for their heart, their donation drives, their community partnerships, their willingness to show up for neighbors in need. These are the things that define a local business as a community anchor. That's why today matters. Small businesses like Soul Good are the heart and soul of our neighborhoods. They create jobs, yes, but they are also creating spaces where people feel seen, welcome, and connected. They reflect the diversity, resilience, and ingenuity that we come to define and think of when we think of Illinois. The grant program we're celebrating today, nearly $10 million for 47 small businesses across the state, is designed to help entrepreneurs like the Soul Good team grow and thrive. Whether it's investing in new equipment, expanding a space, improving infrastructure, or planting the seeds for future development, this funding helps ensure that dreams like this one don't just survive, but they flourish. And when small businesses flourish, communities flourish. So to the owners and the entire Soul Good family, thank you for believing in Skokie. Thank you for pouring yourselves into this shop, into this neighborhood, and into the people that walk through your door. Your success strengthens our community. And to Governor Pritzker and DCEO, thank you for recognizing the power of local businesses and for continuing to invest in the places and people who make Illinois stronger. I am so proud to represent this community and so happy and excited to have some good news to share with all of you today. And with that, I am going to introduce my colleague, also the state representative who represents the other half of Skokie, State Representative Kevin Olikow.
Good afternoon. I'm going to keep my remarks brief because I don't want to see any more customers be turned away. My name is Kevin Olikow, represent Illinois 16th District. I think I asked Christina like a dozen times which side of Main Street is your permanent location going to be, because my district is just across the street. I represent the southern half of Skokie, Lincolnwood, and the West Ridge community. But I'm really incredibly excited and proud to celebrate Soul Good Cafe. I met Christina, I knocked on her door a couple of years back. She's a constituent, and learned about her vision for this coffee shop and this endeavor. And it's been incredible to watch as she grew this from a pop-up to a trailer to this permanent location. And it's truly a testament to her vision, her passion, the team that she's built here at Soul Good. And it's just incredible to watch. And you know, this business is really a community-driven business. It's an anchor in our community. It's last week I came in here, I bought my coffee, I rounded up my purchase so that the money could go to our township food pantry. And so it's really incredible to see a business like this flourish. And also it's an anchor for the entire Main Street corridor, and I can't wait to see what comes of it. And we know that the margin for error for small businesses are very, very slim. So it's incredibly important, and I'm grateful to Governor Pritzker, DCEO, for administering these programs that really allow for our small businesses to flourish, especially at a time when we're watching the federal government decimate programs for our small businesses, our underrepresented businesses. We're watching a lot of instability at the federal government, and a lot of instability in our economy at the moment. I'm grateful that Governor Pritzker, who has been a steadfast and vocal supporter of our small businesses, is continuing to find ways to support our local economy. And he has my commitment, I know my colleagues' commitment in Springfield, to ensure that we are partners in this work, ensuring that we're supporting our small businesses and growing our economy. But again, I want to thank him for his great work and the administration. I want to thank everyone for being here to support Soul Good. And again, want to congratulate Christina and the team for the incredible work. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the great work that you all are going to continue to do in this space. This place is beautiful, and excited to see you.
Right, we've been listening in there to the state representatives of Skokie and also Governor Pritzker and the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, as they have announced another round of grants for small businesses to the tune of $10 million. This is going to go to 47 small businesses throughout the state of Illinois. They said it aligns the growth and success and that of their neighbors with the difference that small businesses make. Governor Pritzker making a comment that 55% of new jobs created are because of entrepreneurs, the risk that they take, but that they are heroes in the end, working on slim margins, and that this grant will be a bridge for many people, especially in a time of tariffs. One of the representatives saying they want to do more than just see dreams survive, but see dreams flourish, and that these small business owners really amount to the success and strength of a full community. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this.
Right now? It has not. Well, typically it takes a little time to enroll these bills and have them delivered to me. There were a fair number of them actually from veto session. So no doubt they'll come soon. But we've had, I don't know, 1 or 2 holidays in between, and probably it'll be early December before, or late November probably, before I see some of them. That particular one? Oh, yes, I was an advocate for the bills, protecting our immigrant communities across the state. Yeah.
Governor Julian Cruz with WGN. Nice to see you.
Hi, Julian.
I want to ask you some questions about, we had a horrific week here with that Blue Line tragedy occurring. A lot of questions being asked about the individual who was charged with this horrific crime.
Yeah.
More than 70 priors.
Yeah.
A lot of prosecutors are asking, judge, a Cook County judge, had the opportunity
Yeah.
to this individual up,
Yeah.
Judge Teresa Molina-Gonzalez.
Yeah.
She said, I can't keep everybody in jail because the state's attorney wants me to. The prosecutor tried to warn her
Yeah.
that in their opinion, this individual was a threat to public safety.
Yeah.
Your reaction?
The Safety Act is designed to give judges the ability to keep people in jail who they think are potentially dangerous for the community. So it is the judgment of those elected judges that ultimately determines, in most cases, whether somebody is released or not. And it's a better way, by the way, than bail. Because bail is sort of an automatic out for people who just happen to have enough money, and an automatic incarceration for somebody who happens not to have enough money. Rather use judgment, good judgment, in most cases, to keep violent criminals or people who have mental health problems. And it's my understanding, at least all the reading that I've done, I don't know more than that, that this person seems to have had some serious mental health challenges. And so that's another aspect of what I think judges need to take into consideration. I want to make sure that we are providing the kind of mental health that should be available to people who need it, and especially somebody who has the potential for, or who has in the past committed some violence. Yes.
Murderer who served his sentence and parole, and then randomly punching a woman in the face on Michigan Avenue.
Yeah.
But this person cannot be held in custody awaiting trial, according to the prosecution. So they say there's some problems with the safety act. I mean, are you open to any amendments in the act or take a closer look at it?
Of course. If there are changes that need to be, look, we do this all the time in Springfield, right? Where there are laws that have been on the books for 20 years that need tweaking because there's something that somebody missed in the original, writing of it. And so always willing to look at that. I can't speak to the specifics of that case that you're raising, but just to say, of course, and I've said this about the Safety Act before, and about really every bill that gets passed in Springfield. Sometimes bills get passed and everybody that votes for it knows that there needs to be a trailer bill or a tweak that needs to be made afterward. So I think everybody is open to listening to what changes might need to be made.
Governor, you were governor.
Yeah, sorry. We'll get Brendan next, and then I'll catch you, Craig. Yeah, sorry.
Governor, you were confronted a few weeks ago in Little Village by a Chicago alderman. He was asking about more resources, state resources for the city of Chicago and other things. But you have responded that we really need a graduated income tax. Obviously, you pushed that very hard in 2020. Obviously, since in the intervening years, budget has been okay, but now we're seeing structural budget deficit kind of come back, and then you have one review of the bill on top of that. Is 2026 the right time to take a second bite of the apple at the graduation?
I was not raising it to him because it's specifically something that I'm going to propose in the 26th. I mean, by the way, the governor is not the one who ultimately proposes those bills or even signs them, right? When it's an amendment to the Constitution, the governor really has almost nothing to do with it other than perhaps advocacy. What I was saying in response to the alderman was, because he was making the claim that somehow that I'm not in favor of large corporations or wealthy people paying their fair share, I think is what he was saying. And that's ludicrous. The very first thing that I did, or one of the very first things that I did in office, was propose and ask the General Assembly to put on the ballot the amendment that would have a graduated income tax in the state. It didn't pass with the voters. But as you know, I worked hard. I put resources behind it more than anybody's ever done before. So one cannot claim that I am not in favor of a more progressive rather than regressive tax system. And that's what I was trying to say to him when he was saying that being against the head tax in the city of Chicago is somehow my opposition to having wealthier people pay more and middle-class people pay less. So all I can say is I believe that we need to have a system that is more progressive and less regressive than the one that we have now. I think it's something that is being talked about by members of the General Assembly. We'll have to see if it gets proposed. It's not something that's been a priority for me going into the next session. We clearly want to make sure first that we are looking at finding efficiencies in government. That's always the very, very first thing. But I do think a graduated system is better than a flat tax system. And so if there's a possibility for us to have a system like that, it's better than the one we have.
I guess a quick follow-up.
Sure.
On efficiencies, is you ask your agencies to provide 4%
Yes.
cuts or identify what can be cut.
Yeah.
Do you think that could be, is that going to need to be, have you reviewed those first of all, but also is that going to be necessary given some of the popular...
Well, as you know, we don't pass a new budget until, well, sometime in the spring. And it's quite a difficult endeavor to find $200, $300, $400 million of cuts, let alone, more if we need to. And so trying to get each agency to find.
Okay, we went without the break because the governor had opened up questions to reporters there, and they spent a significant portion of the time talking about a situation that we're actually going to speak about with our next guest. So we want to go ahead and continue with the programming here. There were two things in particular that they talked with the governor about in that question and answer segment. One was his back and forth with Byron Cicho Lopez, Alderman Cicho Lopez in Little Village, or just a couple of weeks ago. It was on Veterans Day. The governor was there for a press conference, and Byron Cicho Lopez kind of confronted him afterwards, talking about the corporate head tax that is in the mayor's budget, and really saying to the governor that he was against it because he wanted wealthier people essentially to get richer while poor people continue to get poorer. But the governor says that that's ludicrous, in his words, ludicrous, because he says it's worth noting that he asked the General Assembly at one point in time for a graduated income tax, but it did not pass. So that's one of the things that they talked about. But the big thing that they were addressing was the Safety Act and where it pertains to a situation that took place this week. A CTA rider, a woman, 26 years old, on the CTA train, the Blue Line, who was attacked viciously. A man poured gasoline on her and set her on fire. She is still fighting for life right now, has been in critical condition this week, and the governor says that when you're addressing the Safety Act, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. One, the judges can keep people in jail when they deem that person to be a danger. He says it's better than bail because bail is an automatic out for people who have money. But he also says that he's always willing to look at whether the Safety Act needs amending. I want to go ahead and bring in our legal analyst, Karen Conti from Conti and Dolan, to talk a little bit more about this particular case that has so many people talking this week. Thank you so much for your time, as always. I think you're on mute right now.
There we go.
It's all right. We kept you holding there for a moment. Thank you, though, for being on the line and waiting as we were listening into the governor there. One of the things that I know you're well aware of, if you've read over this case, is the long arrest and criminal history that this man, this Lawrence Reed, the suspect here, has. He had a day in court today. What happens after this? I mean, if you're dealing with somebody with this lengthy of a record, do they look to see if they are mentally competent to stand trial?
Well, this is a really interesting case because this was not brought by the Chicago Police Department under the state of Illinois laws. This was a federal action.
Right.
He was with terrorism, and that's a very serious crime. It's very rare. In fact, I don't know of another case where there was something like this that got charged with terrorism here in the Chicago area. And yes, he had over 70 arrests, about 17 convictions, and he obviously, if you look at his record, has mental health issues. But what's going to happen here with this charge is that he will be assessed as to whether or not he is mentally competent to stand trial. And this is different than the insanity defense. This is whether he can even participate in his own defense. So he will go to a psychiatric facility where he will undergo very rigorous testing to see if he's competent to stand trial. If he is competent, he will be tried and he will be detained in the meantime. If he is not competent to stand trial, he will receive medical attention until he is competent to stand trial. And if he never reaches that level, then he will be probably given a hearing to see if he will be incarcerated in some sort of mental institution unless and until he gets better.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that he was put out of a psych ward in the past for knocking a woman out in the psych ward. So it just kind of begs a lot of questions as to how do you handle someone like that who's already been put out of a psych ward?
Yeah, I mean, they have different levels of facilities. And I think because this is charged in federal court, there are going to be maybe a larger amount of facilities that he can go to. I mean, certainly there are people like him, unfortunately, that walk this earth.
Yeah.
They are mentally ill and they are violent. And they, they need to have a certain level of security. And if that means they have to be locked and tied down, that might just mean that that is what happens. So he will definitely be assessed and he will definitely stand trial or not. And my guess is that this man is probably not going to get out of any prison or any mental institution.
Yeah, what do you make of the governor's comments just moments ago? I was kind of detailing before I came to you, where he's being asked about the Safety Act and this aspect of it. The state's attorney's office, even before the Safety Act was implemented, and now that it's been implemented, had the opportunity over the course of these 70 plus charges over the years to not have him walking the streets. And if it's left up to a judge to deem the person a danger, how did we end up in this situation?
Well, first, many of those charges happened before we had the Safety Act.
Right.
The Safety Act really doesn't take away any judge's right to keep somebody in prison, right, in jail, and in a holding cell. That it has nothing to do with it. It's just whether money is an issue. And as the governor aptly said, if you have money, if this guy had money to get out, he would be out. If he doesn't have money, he's going to be in. But that's not what we should be focusing on. The Safety Act gives judges the complete authority to say, you can't get out. Money has nothing to do with it. You're a danger to society. And in my opinion, you need to be in until you're tried.
Yeah. So how does arson become a federal terrorism charge? Because even if we're talking about charges of his from the past, arson was one of them before it became setting a person on fire. Arson was one of them. And again, he was back out on the streets after an arson charge. So how does arson become a federal charge?
Yeah, the terrorism law has a bunch of different crimes that can be terrorism. So like assassinating a public official, doing something at an airport, anything that has sort of a federal and national element to it. This particular charge has to do with him committing this arson on public transportation. And that makes it a terrorist charge under the federal law.
Yeah. So the location of where it took place.
Yes.
And what would be the possible penalties for this?
Life in prison. And there is a possibility, if this victim passes away, they could probably even try to charge him with the death penalty because the federal death penalty is still in play. We do not have one here in Illinois under state law.
So we're working with federal charges right now that could lead to either extensive time behind bars, extensive time in some mental health facility, or even the possibility of death should this woman not recover. And obviously we are hoping that she makes a full recovery, at least physically, from what's taken place here. Could the Chicago Police Department, though, come right back on top of those charges? I mean, is it even worth pursuing if the federal charges are this extensive?
I think what's happening here is the Chicago Police Department is backing down and letting the feds take this. Why? Because that law is extremely strong.
Yeah.
That law could put him in prison the rest of his life. And I think that what they're saying is, we're going to defer to you federal authorities, and in the event there is an acquittal, or in the event there is something that goes awry and they cannot keep him incarcerated, my guess is that the Chicago authorities are going to arrest him and bring charges as well.
Yeah, and I want to read over the statement that this young woman's family put out overnight. It says, "We would like to thank everyone for their prayers and well wishes as our daughter receives care for injuries sustained earlier this week. We are also grateful for the excellent care and support of the burn team at Stroger Hospital. We will not be providing updates at this time and ask for her and our privacy as we focus our attention on her and her recovery." And they're thanking everyone for their attention to this matter. You know, just kind of thinking about the long term here, would there be any recourse that she would have, like on a civil level, again, to top off these really serious charges?
Yeah, well, there's a possibility of bringing charges against the local authorities for not keeping him in prison. Those are really hard cases to take, because the government has so much leeway and so much discretion in what they do with people. But this could rise to the level. I mean, if you have 70 charges, 17 convictions, mental health issues, and he wasn't incarcerated and he was given electronic monitoring, and here's a guy who can't, follow any rule of society, maybe that could be a successful lawsuit. I also think there's a possibility of the family, if they choose, to sue the CTA. Why? Because this guy was violent on an L before. He was guilty of throwing bricks and breaking windows. He was guilty of assaulting people in or around the L. And I think that, he had a valid ticket or a valid pass. So how do you give a pass to someone who has a history of violence? I don't even know if there's a means to screen people from staying off public transportation if they have a history of doing these kinds of things. So my guess is that if they choose to do it, they probably have an avenue.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge consideration. I wouldn't have even thought of them. And how do they keep, or are there people who are banned from the CTA indefinitely?
Yeah, that's something I would have to look into. And, you can go online and buy a pass, and does that mean you go through a background check? No, it doesn't. So maybe there's legislation that should be passed that has some sort of protection, because when you get people in a confined area like this, and people are like, this poor woman was just minding her own business, people going to their jobs to work hard to support their families, and you're in this contained environment, it's a very dangerous place when you have people with mental health issues. And now with people having guns when they shouldn't, that's another issue that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. Are there some other pieces of legislation you think will come from this incident? It's sad, but sometimes the worst types of situations actually being the catalyst for major changes.
I agree with you, and you would hope that a bad situation would result in something that would protect somebody in the future, even if it's just one person. And I see this as a mental health issue. And when you say mental health, people say, well, you're being soft on crime. No, I'm not, because mentally ill people generally are not violent. In fact, the majority, the vast majority of them are not violent. But when you have a person who's violent and has mental health considerations, that's hard for the prison system to handle. So there needs to be a specialized place and a specialized way to deal with people who have these issues. And maybe we need better facilities, better training, and better funding for keeping people locked up if their mental health is not going to recover.
Yeah, 70 priors seems unthinkable, but is that even the worst that you've seen?
Not really. There are people who spend their lives in and out of this system, and it's very unfortunate, and I've seen it over the years. And again, we are not equipped to deal with it. He probably was medicated at some point, maybe got better and competent to stand trial. He was doing well, and then he goes off his medicine. He's maybe homeless. He doesn't have family support, and here you have him doing the same thing again. So it's hard to keep track of these people in a system as massive as that which we have in Cook County.
Yeah. Are there any other takeaways you think, or that you are taking from where we are in this case thus far?
Well, I like the fact that the federal government has come in to bring these charges, because these are serious charges. And, I hope that the families out there who have people who have mental health challenges really try as best they can to take control of their loved ones. I know it's a very hard thing. It's very hard to get somebody civilly committed if they have mental health concerns. And, we have gun laws now where we can call up and say someone's got a gun and he's not doing well. Red flag laws that can have them come in and take their guns away. And I really encourage everybody who has somebody like that in their family or close to them to take that action so that somebody doesn't suffer like this poor woman here.
It is just, it's such an unthinkable and sad case. Thank you so much, Karen. We always appreciate you, Karen Conti with Conti and Dolan. Happy Thanksgiving if I don't speak with you before.
Thank you.
All right, you take care. 1:56 right now. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We're in our 2 o'clock hour now. Let me tell you about some of the things that we have coming up during this hour. We are going to take you to Indiana to talk with a sheriff about a case here of 6, 7. I know the kids constantly say it. I had to, but there is an interesting twist to it going down in Indiana. It's pretty sweet, but you'll hear about that coming up right around 2:45. We should get to that conversation. Also, we're going to bring in another one of our business owners here locally that's really been through it this week, having to deal with a break-in. As you heard at the top of our broadcast, we were speaking with the owner of Sip and Savor about many of these business owners talking to each other like, what is going on? Well, we're going to bring in the owner of Sean Michelle's Ice Cream after the break-in there. That should be around 2:30. At 2:15, we look to have an interesting discussion about an auction. The first edition Superman comic just sold for $9 million. I don't know who had that cash, but someone has a pretty nice Christmas gift on their hands. But speaking of money on their hands, and maybe in this case the wrong hands, we're going to bring in now Professor Stephen Caliendo from North Central College to talk about a Florida representative who has now been indicted on charges that accuse her of stealing $5 million in federal disaster funds. Professor Caliendo, the House Ethics Committee seems to work overtime.
Hey, these comic books are getting expensive. You got to do what you need to do.
It's pretty wild here. They're accusing her of funneling it into her campaign in 2021 for contributions.
Yeah, right. It was a special election down in Florida. It was a special election, and that's where the accusations of improper handling of campaign funds comes in. But it's really a COVID era issue. The accusation is that money came in to a company, a health company that she and her husband owned, and they overpaid. That is, the government overpaid, gave more than was asked for, more than was needed. It's hard to remember what things were like at the time of COVID. Money was flying around. We were trying to keep everybody safe, and instead of returning it, the accusation is from the feds is that they laundered the money and that a significant portion of that money went into her campaign funds. She denies it. She says it's not true. She says she's cooperating throughout. However, as is always the case when a member of Congress is indicted, what a terrible sentence. But when a member of Congress is indicted, the rules say you have to step down from leadership positions. And so she stepped down. She was on a Foreign Affairs subcommittee, and she's since stepped down from that position while these proceedings go forward. Yeah, certainly not the first time that we've heard of someone in the House having to go through an investigation with the House Ethics Committee. I don't think it's lost on anyone, especially in her fight back against these, which she's got a big fight on her hands, that she is a Democrat in a red state. And I'm sure she's at least using that as a part of her fight, even if this looks clear as day. Yeah, it always looks clear as day when the prosecution's presenting it, because there is no there's not a trial, right? And even in front of a grand jury, it's simply prosecutors presenting to citizens what their case is. And so an indictment is not a sign of guilt. An indictment is a sign that there's enough evidence to move forward with an accusation of guilt. So she will be able to mount a defense. She hasn't done very much of that publicly, other than denying the accusations and saying that she didn't do it. But right, I mean, I think, from what we can see, nobody would argue that it was an inappropriate use of funds if that's what happened. But the only way we know what happened right now is from the government's perspective, and so we're going to have to wait to hear more. Yeah, and so this is the government, kind of launching this investigation at her. I want to flip things here because, of course, the other ethics investigation, if you will, was from within the Democratic Party for U.S. Congressman Chuy Garcia right here from our area. What were your thoughts on his reprimand? Yeah, I mean, I think the Democrats had to do that. And I don't mean had to, meaning that there was some external force, but I mean, the Democrats are holding themselves up as the more small d Democratic politicians moving around the atmosphere in these Trump years. They have bemoaned a number of policies by the Trump administration, decisions by the Trump administration that they saw as not being consistent with the framers' principles, with our Constitution, with our laws. And so when Chuy Garcia sort of pulled this trick, and he may not characterize it that way, but I think it's tough to argue otherwise, that he didn't announce he was retiring until the very last minute, and the only person who seemed to know was his staffer. I think it was incumbent upon the Democrats to make a clear statement and issue a reprimand.
Yeah, and then there's the ethics investigation into Stacey Plaskett for connections to now disgraced sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Right, and the accusation there, Anita, of course, is that there was text communication during a congressional hearing at one point where she was soliciting information from Jeffrey Epstein. Nothing about sex particularly, but the fact that she was communicating with him and getting information that she could then use in a question for a witness. Any connection with Jeffrey Epstein is quite toxic. And again, as the Democrats are clamoring to release all the Epstein files and to hold anybody accountable, it's really a bad look for them to have one of their members have any kind of a history. And so, again, there's going to have to be an investigation about exactly how much was involved here, but it's just a bad look. It's a bad look, and that's important.
And so I ask that because it's all going on at a time when there's a question as to what we're going to find in the Epstein files. There's a question as to whether it would implicate, who it would implicate. But of course, the president, whose name came up in some of the previous documents that have been released, is saying this could hurt the Democrats more than me.
He's certainly hoping that, but I don't think that he believed that until a couple of days ago, or if he did, he wasn't acting like that was the case. Remember, it was Republicans in the White House that have been stonewalling the release of files. Arguments can be made that Biden administration could have done more about it, even though Ghislaine Maxwell was in the process of her legal proceedings at the time. There may have been things that they could have done as well. So I think there's reasonable people are pointing fingers in both directions to say who's really in there. The answer might be everybody. The answer might be nobody. I mean, we know somebody's in there. We don't know how, to the extent to which it's current elected officials. But there's a lot of folks at different points in time that didn't want that information to be released. And President Trump has since come around, encouraged all the House Republicans to vote for it, and they all did except for one. The Senate quickly passed it, and the bill is on the president's desk. And so he's going to have a decision to make, but all indications are that he's going to sign it. But then the question is, what does the rollout look like? It's not like there's just going to be, a truck that pulls up with a bunch of boxes in it, and they're going to set it out for people to look at. There's going to have to be careful redactions of victim names, and then there's going to have to be some logistics as well. So the delay could go on for some time, and I think both parties got a lot of political cover this week by saying that they were on the side of transparency.
And then there's the comments that the president made about Democrats conducting an act of sedition that's punishable by death.
Yeah, that was a big one. I just put a video on my social media about that because I waited about 24 hours because I wanted to hear what folks were saying about it. And I think a lot of things can be true at once. So at once, I will tell you that it's completely unreasonable and wrong for a president of the United States to, first of all, consider your critics to be treasonous. And this isn't new. This isn't something that just happened yesterday. President Trump has said this on and on. Well, members of the media are enemies of the people. He doesn't understand that healthy criticism is part of the democratic process. He believes that anybody that opposes him is treasonous. So that's problematic. And then the next level was, of course, he called for their execution. That's problematic. On the other hand, Republican or Democrats who are defending the video and saying, well, they were just saying, they weren't just saying. At the beginning of the video, they said, this administration has issued unlawful acts. It's your responsibility as members of the intelligence community or the military to disregard those. So it wasn't in the abstract. They were actually saying this administration's doing it. The other part of it is, though, that there's argument that that's insulting to the troops. And to the intelligence community. They know, they take an oath of office. They know not only do they have to disobey unlawful activities, they need to report that, because if they obey an unlawful act, they can be held responsible. That's what the Nuremberg trials were about, right? You can't just say, well, I was following orders. if it's something that's illegal or unconstitutional. And so they have a responsibility there too. So the eight Democrats that sort of put that video out really put themselves out on a limb. And despite what we've talked about, you and I, since Charlie Kirk's assassination, about toning down political rhetoric, President Trump certainly heated it, not only from what he said, but by amplifying other social media posts that called for execution of those members.
Yeah, ethics is a little word that goes a long way on both sides of the aisle. Thank you so much, Dr. Caliendo. We appreciate you as always.
It's always good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Yep, have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too.
All right, it's 2:11 now. We have a reporter, Casey Cronus, who is joining me now. She is working on a story that we have been following for quite some time now, as a Vernon Hills toy company took their case all the way to the Supreme Court, fighting President Trump's tariffs. And so, Casey, where are we in this story today?
Hey, Anita, so sorry, I was trying to get my camera back up and running there. So we are right now in Vernon Hills. We just spoke with one of the executives at Hand to Mind. Now, this toy company has several brands. Hand to Mind is one, Learning Resources is another. These are educational toy products. And yes, as you mentioned, they have been in this ongoing legal battle, and their case went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court earlier this month, which is really just incredible to think about, that a local toy company right here in the Chicago suburbs, has been fighting tariffs since these sweeping changes were imposed earlier this year, and their case was heard before our Supreme Court justices. So this was an oral arguments hearing earlier this month. We don't have an opinion yet from SCOTUS. That may not come until sometime in the new year, but they are essentially arguing that the tariffs and the way that they were imposed are unconstitutional. Now, something else that we are taking a look at today, we heard about how the hearing went, and Alana, who we spoke with, said it was really just a cool experience. Obviously, as you can imagine, a lot of security getting into that courtroom there, security officers walking around, no belongings allowed in except a pad of paper and a pen or pencil. So just really cool to hear her perspective. But we are also looking ahead to this holiday season and what that looks like for consumers as they head out to shop. I also spoke with a professor at Chicago Booth who kind of breaks down some of the shopping predictions. We're only a week away from Black Friday, and he had some really interesting insights. One of them, Anita, I found this fascinating. People have been very careful with their spending all season, perhaps even frugal because of inflated prices. He said it could go one of two ways. We could possibly see that this holiday season, but he thinks we might actually see some big spending on some big ticket items because people feel like, you know what, I've been good all year. I'm going to go all out and treat myself, treat the family for Christmas.
Maybe on a credit card. Let's just talk about the impact or projected impact. If they talked about that, if they addressed that, the projected impact of the tariffs on this Vernon Hills business, like how much of an impact could it make?
Oh, and it is already making a huge impact on them. So how Alana put it simply is that last year in 2024, they spent roughly $2 million on tariffs. This year, they are on track to spend $14 million in tariffs. Huge difference, huge impact. But if the Supreme Court rules in their favor, it is possible that not only their company, but other companies could get a lot of that money back. Now remember, with these tariffs, you've got to pay that cost up front. So how Alana explained it is they are having to shrink their window of purchasing. They used to be purchasing right now for essentially this time next year. So if the tariffs hadn't happened, if we were here today, they would already be buying for end of next summer, possibly even into the holidays right now. But the tariffs have had to change their time window and their cash flow. So right now they're only purchasing about 3 months out. Before the tariffs hit, they had already done a lot of their holiday purchasing for this holiday season. But right now, they can't do the same purchasing for next season as they did last year. So there's a big question of, will there be too much inventory? Will there be not enough inventory in the coming weeks, in the coming months, as that purchasing has had to shift?
Wow. And just on a final note, I mean, you've spoken with them for months now. What has the emotional impact been like for them? What has this journey been like for them from that standpoint?
And it's really been really cool to be able to follow them along on this journey. As you mentioned, I've been covering this for several months. We've done several stories with them at this point, and this is something that they're very passionate about, that they truly feel the way that these tariffs were imposed was not right, was not constitutional. And this is something that they are fighting for, as Alana has told me before, not just for their company, but for their employees. They have about 500 employees at this family-owned business. The business has been in their family for over 100 years. So just to protect what they've built and what their family has built. And the way that she's explained it is that these tariffs in the end could have such a big impact on what they've built. So wanting to protect that, but of course it's been a long process and it's not going to be over soon. Once this opinion is issued, depending on what the ruling is, if there is something that needs to be remedied, if the Supreme Court justices rule in their favor, we're talking months, if not years, of trying to rectify the costs that not only their company but other companies have paid in tariffs.
Wow, wow, wow. So we look for many updates for quite some time to come. Thank you, Casey. We look forward to seeing your full story this afternoon and evening.
Thank you, Anita. Good to chat.
Absolutely. Safe travels. All right, 2:18 right now. Let's take a quick break. $2:20 right now. We've had a lot of conversations about people pinching pennies, but someone somewhere had $9 million to spend for the original first edition of the Superman comic. Talk about being a fan. I want to bring in Lon Allen, the Vice President of Comics for Heritage Auctions. This is pretty awesome. Think you're on mute. Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry. Keeps muting me. Yeah, just so exciting. Just an amazing day. Set the world record by a huge amount. The previous record was $6 million, and this sold for 9.1.
So tell me about this edition, this first edition. What should people know about it who aren't going to have it personally?
Sure. So it is Superman #1. It's graded 9.0 on a 1 to 10 scale. So it is the very finest copy ever found, ever graded, and a heck of a lot of buzz about it. And came out of an attic. It's been sitting there since 1939.
So when you say a grade for it, does that mean it was like kept in pristine conditions?
It really was. That's the amazing thing. It just sat in an attic in San Francisco, untouched, and it ended up being just literally almost perfect, a 9 on a scale of 10.
Wow. Okay, so my producer over here sees Superman behind you. Is that it, what we're talking about?
This is the catalog that we produced for it. So yeah, that was it. Superman #1, 9.0, finest known. We produced an entire catalog just for the one book. So, yep, that's it. 9.0, almost perfect.
Tell me about what you said. It sold more than the $3 million more over your previous record. What sold for $6 million before?
So last year in the spring, we sold a copy of Action Comics #1, which is the first appearance of Superman, and just a slightly lower grade, an 8.5. But there are two finer known ones, so that probably held it back just a little bit. But now I bet that book is even worth more today after this astounding sale.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Tell me a little bit about how you all go about finding these items. Do people contact you, or how do you go about collecting these items?
Sure. We're by far the largest collectibles auctioneer, and we're the largest in the United States. We do about $2 billion a year, and so people do Google search. We come up, and that's how they contacted us. They sent a form through our website, and they sent some pictures, and I saw it, and I called them immediately, and got on a plane and went out there and saw it in person.
Wow. Okay, and when I'm sure you get contacted and you're like, this is a fluke, versus when you see something, it's the real deal. What goes through your mind?
Oh, this was one where every day somebody says they have a Superman #1, as you can imagine, but there's 1,000 reprints, and so at some point you just sort of assume that it's going to be a reprint, it's going to be nothing. But they had photos, and I could tell right away that this was the real deal. So, and I've been doing this for 25 years, and this even got me so excited.
And you told us where it was. What were the circumstances of them finding it there?
So their mother had held on to it. She passed away a long time ago, and other relatives had been living in the house. And I believe that the time had finally come. They thought, well, we'll sell the house. We better just make sure there's nothing up in the attic, old family heirlooms, pictures. And they had always heard a story that there was old comic books somewhere, but they never saw them. And lo and behold, they just, in a box of musty old newspapers in the bottom, bam, there it was.
So how much do they get? How much does Heritage Auction get off of 9.12 million?
Well, they get the vast majority of the money, and we just do keep a percentage. But luckily, when we do this, we're both on the same side of the table, so the original owners get the most money.
And how many auctions do you have a year?
So we have 5 large ones like this where we produce a full color catalog, but we also have internet auctions every single week. So anytime you go to our website, ha.com, you are going to see comic books and everything else under the sun available for auction.
Was the mother a comic book collector, or was it just that like one of the kids got it a long time ago and then it just never got thrown away?
They had never ever seen them, so I believe it was her and her brother, who would have been born in the late 20s, and they, just happened to there were 6 comic books total. We don't know if maybe there were more at some point, but she must have just thought that these looked special and wanted to keep them. So no, the kids who are in their 50s and 60s had heard maybe there were old comic books, but at some point it falls into legend when you never see them.
Oh my, I can only imagine. I mean, we've all had the unfortunate experience of having to go through a loved one's belongings after they pass away, but just like what that moment would be like to realize what you stumbled upon. And what do you think it was purchased for in terms of price back then?
10 cents.
Oh!
That's what every comic book cost back then, 10 cents.
I feel like I need to go dig up my Archie comics. They're probably worth nothing. I don't even know if I kept them, but I was hooked on them for a while.
They're probably not old enough to be worth anything.
So you're saying I just needed to have held on to. I needed to understand as a child that these could be valuable one day to somebody.
Right. Or your parents or your grandparents, as far as for Archie comics to be old enough.
So will it go to an individual that, with the $9 million, I mean, it just sounds like, whoo, oh my goodness. But is that an individual paying for it? Is it a group that comes up with that money, or is it like a business or museum?
Well, usually it's an individual. Sometimes it's a group. I mean, we're not really at liberty to say yet. It might come out publicly. They may want to come out on their end and say that they now have it. I'm not sure. Maybe it'll end up on display somewhere. But there are a few, really nice comic book related museums where some of these things end up. So, maybe somebody will have it on display someday.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever... I mean, you're not identifying the person right now. Have you done business with like a celebrity before? It ended up being, whoever. It did come out in the end that it was some big name?
Sometimes on the buying end, like way back when 20 years ago, we sold Nicolas Cage's comic book collection. So sometimes they want to make it publicly known. Where on the selling end, usually on the buying end, they kind of want to keep it quiet and don't want anybody to know what they have.
Yeah, don't want anyone coming for that. So, and what is the process like for them actually getting it in their possession? Does it happen immediately? Are there some things that have to happen before they receive it?
Well, normally something like this is going to go armored truck, so we'll probably start arranging those things and payment details, and with the number this big, I'm sure it'll take a few weeks to figure out all the formalities.
Oh my! Anything else that you take from this, like in terms of things you've seen versus how this played out?
Well, that's the crazy thing is, I mean, we handle a lot of amazing things, a lot of multi-million-dollar items, and you just never know when you see something like this and you realize this is really, really special. I think this has a chance to really break every record, but then you don't know. It's a lot of money. Once you're talking about some kind of a number like that, it's just really never a guarantee. So it made me really happy to see that there were 2 or 3 different people that wanted to bid on it at that level.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Why do you think it's Superman that gets the money going?
Well, so he was the first superhero, and I mean that's where the word superhero comes from, is from Superman. There was nothing before that. No, there was nothing, in the realm of comic books or anywhere else that had something like that. So he's the first, he's the original. So, the movie, a lot of series of movies, that new movie was popular, and, everyone in the world knows who Superman is.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, when is your next auction?
This auction is in February, so we are putting that together now, actively taking consignments for the next auction.
Amazing. And what are your top tips if you think something in your possession might be of value to someone else?
Well, I mean, happy to reach out to us. We give free appraisals. You can go to our website, ha.com. You click a link there, submit photos. It'll land on my screen. And if you have something, we'll get back to you right away. And if you don't, we'll let you know that too.
And in the end, is this like a message to us to treasure the things we might otherwise throw away?
Absolutely, I think so. I think people still really, have sentimental value attached to things, and you hate to see that go away. It's part of history, and I love to help preserve history.
Wow. Well, I don't have $9 million, but who knows what could fetch that much next or more. We shall see.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, congratulations. Have a great weekend and a great holiday season.
Okay, you too. Thanks a lot.
Take care. 2:31, everyone. We'll be right back. All right, everyone, 2:34 right now, and before we get to our next conversation, let's just take a look right outside the White House at the reporters who are waiting there for the moment that they have been waiting on. It's the follow-up or reaction that they're waiting to get from the meeting between President Trump and New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, who was just elected a couple of weeks ago at the beginning of this month. Obviously, he is a Democratic socialist. The mayor had a lot to say about him, and he had a lot to say about the president during the election season. So we're going to see where things go between the two of them. There aren't cameras allowed in their meeting, but again, everyone's waiting to hear what comes from the meeting just as soon as they step out. And if that begins while we're still here on the broadcast, we will take that live. But want to get back to a conversation that we are continuing here on the broadcast today about small businesses. we saw the governor talking about grants opening up for small businesses, and he was at a small business in Skokie. We spoke with Trez Pugh of Sip and Savor about his small business, the location that's in Bronzeville that was broken into overnight. And we mentioned during that particular interview that there were several businesses that were broken into, and many of them, the owners are pillars of the community. Yahya Muhammad is another one. He is the owner of Sean Michelle's Ice Cream, and I want to bring him in now to the conversation. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing? That's the better question. When was the break-in at your business?
It actually occurred just the other night at about 3 a.m. in the morning. My wife, she picked up the phone, and it was, of course, our alarm system representative, and they confirmed that we actually had a break-in. And it was surprising because in the past, of course, those are usually false alarms, right? And so, of course, I made my way to the store to discover that the front glass door had been broken out. And then we had a few items that had been taken out of the store as well.
Yeah.
And so, of course, that was not what I was hoping to find. But again, it just was a trigger just to let us know that we just have more work to do. We had to put the boots on the ground and to just try harder to be more of an inspiration and to be a positive outlet in the community so we can help to create the change that we all just so desperately hoping to see.
Yeah, when you watch that video, what's going through your mind? I saw it online. What's going through your mind as you're seeing the surveillance video?
Well, again, it's unfortunate, and it's the last thing that any of us hope to actually have to experience, for sure. But you have to use incidents like this as fuel for the fire to help bring about change, to help to inspire the community that there's other ways, right? And that's part of what the local businesses are all about. We're servants of the community. To break into Sean Michelle's is really like breaking into your own home. Who would want to do that, right? And so that's why we always like to say this is your homemade ice cream parlor.
Yeah.
And we're servants of the community. And again, we just want to continue to do our part to create the change that everybody is hoping to see.
Yeah. Tell me about your journey to becoming an owner of a business.
Wow, this is amazing. Actually, my first experience with homemade ice cream was when I was a child, about 11 years old. I was blessed to play baseball in the community for Southside Little League. And one day after practice, it was a lady sitting on a bench. And she had these small cups for just $1. And inside the cups, it wasn't even hard, but it was homemade ice cream. And that was an experience that I never, ever forgot. I knew it was different from anything that I ever experienced in the store. And later in life, I graduated from high school and attended college at Western Illinois University. And after I graduated with my undergraduate degree, I decided to start to recreate that experience that I had with that lady on the bench. And I would hand out samples to my fraternity brothers. Of course, I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi. And it took about 6 years sharing what it was that I was creating with friends and family before it got even to the point that it was palatable. This is way back in 1994. And so never, ever, ever stop making ice cream. And that passion and love coupled with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to do for self gave me the burning passion to go into business. And I have been at this since then, but the ultimate aim is to really carry on my lap around the track with the baton in my hand, because when I was young, I was blessed to see businesses in our community.
Mm-hmm.
I stand on the shoulders of businesses like Baldwin's Ice Cream and so many that inspired me as a child. So I want the young people that's in our community to see us and to know that they're, hey, it's their turn coming up soon, and they're gonna do bigger, greater, and better things. So yes, Sean Michelle's Homemade Ice Cream is a business, but we're more than that. We're part of the community.
Yeah.
And we're servants of the community. So I'm still excited in spite of the circumstances. It's going to bring us together. We're already coming together, and we're going to give a greater service, and hopefully with the help of God be a brighter beacon of light so that we can eradicate these issues that we don't desire to see.
Yeah, and no one desires to see them at all. If someone has never been to Sean Michelle's Ice Cream, tell us about Sean Michelle's.
Yes, well, Sean Michelle's is that place you can go to when you want to go back home to your aunt's or your grandma's table with that old-fashioned churn homemade custard, the kind you turn with the churn. We're still using fresh milk cream and the age of, we're still doing it the old-fashioned way. And we're bringing those favorite treats that you had on the table, like banana pudding, like peach cobbler, and those other items, and we're incorporating those into our canvas of art, which is the ice cream. And so you come to Sean Michelle's, we're still doing handmade kneaded dough with our peach cobblers. We're still making the dumplings that you find in the roux of peach cobbler. We're still making the old-fashioned banana pudding custard that you cook on the stove. We even have Biscoff banana pudding. So we're just taking you back down memory lane and playing our part in making Chicago fall in love one bite at a time.
It sounds wonderful. When you have something like this to happen, like the break-in the other night, does your business take a hit? You know, how is the community rallying around you right now?
It's been so much of a humbling experience. From the very moment that we shared what had happened, it was about 6 o'clock in the morning, and the phones have not stopped ringing. The messaging have not stopped. People have poured in around the city of Chicago with just an overwhelming support of love for Sean Michelle's Homemade Ice Cream. And again, it's so humbling to experience, and I'm so thankful. And it just really has given me inspiration to just work even harder, to give even more love. And hey, you love Chicago, Chicago's gonna love you back.
Yeah. Well, that's really what we want to hear, that you're going to keep going, keep giving, and that the community is giving back to you as well in this time as well. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. You take care. Best of luck to you moving forward.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. 2:43 now in that conversation between the president and New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani is happening right now. Let's listen in.
Something that I shared with the president, that when I spoke to New Yorkers who had voted for the president last November on Hillside Avenue and Fordham Road, I asked them why. I heard again and again two major reasons. One was that they wanted an end to forever wars. They wanted an end to the taxpayer dollars we had funding violations of human rights, and they wanted to address the cost of living crisis. And I appreciated the chance to discuss both of those things.
He said a lot of my voters actually voted for him, and I'm okay with that. I'll do that. I'll sign it. Give it to me. I'll sign it in a minute. That's pretty good.
Mr. President.
Yeah, please.
You threatened to send federal troops to New York City. You both have differences when it comes to ICE agents in New York City. Mr. Mamdani, you called ICE a rogue government entity. I wonder how you reconcile your differences on both of those issues.
Well, I think we're going to work them out, and I think that if we have known murderers and known drug dealers and some very bad people, you know, we want to get them out. And the mayor wants to have peace. We discussed this at great length, actually, maybe more than anything else. He wants to have a safe New York. Ultimately, a safe New York is going to be a great New York. If it's not safe, no matter how well we do with pricing and with anything else, we can talk about anything you want. If you don't have safe streets, it's not going to be a success. So we're going to work together. We're going to make sure that if there are horrible people there, we want to get them out. I think he wants to get them out, maybe more than I do. So we'll work together. We discussed it at great length. Yes, please.
Yeah, two questions, if I may. One for you, Mr. President, from the BBC in a second. But first of all, for the mayor-elect. You're both, from different parts of the political perspective, you're both populists, though. And I just wondered to what extent the president's campaign style, his techniques, his social media use inspired any part of your campaign.
Well, I actually told the president that, so much of the focus of our campaign has been on the cost of living crisis. And when we asked those New Yorkers who had voted for the president, when we saw an increase in his numbers in New York City, that came back to the same issue: cost of living, cost of living, cost of living. And they spoke about the cost of groceries, the cost of rent, the cost of Con Ed, the cost of childcare. And too often politicians are looking to lecture to New Yorkers what they should care about as opposed to listen. And when we spoke to those voters who voted for President Trump, we heard them speak about cost of living. We focus on that same cost of living, and that's where I am really looking forward to delivering for New Yorkers in partnership with the president on the affordability agenda.
And I think we have to work a little bit. We talked about Con Edison. We have to work a little bit on getting the prices because, we've gotten fuel prices way down, but it hasn't shown up in Con Edison. And we're going to have to talk to them. If we're sending them fuel at a much lower price than it was a year ago, which is true, we have to get Con Edison to start lowering their rates.
Absolutely.
And if I may, last week you told me you were pushing ahead with your plans to sue BBC for up to $5 billion. You were going to speak to Prime Minister Starmer as well. Is there any progress or any updates on those issues?
Well, we get along very well with the Prime Minister. We made a deal with UK. I like him. He's a fine person. And, I think they have some big energy problems. They've got windmills all over the place. They're going to have to start using other methods because their energy is out of control. Talking about in the UK, it's out of control. And he's got that problem. He's got a big immigration problem, as you know, and he's got a big energy problem. And we talk about it. He's a good man. Prime Minister's a good man.
You had a chance to speak this week.
I haven't spoken this week.
Mr. President, have you spoken to President Zelensky or do you intend to
Who?
President Zelensky about your plan to meet with him?
I've spoken with their people. We have a plan. It's horrible what's happening. It's a war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if I was president, and it's a shame. And I thought they should have acted quicker. But it's a cold winter, and a lot of the you talk about utilities, but a lot of the big energy-producing plants have been under attack, to put it mildly, to put it nicely. We have a way of getting peace, or we think we have a way of getting peace. He's going to have to approve it. Just so sad, so many people. Last month they lost 25,000 soldiers. This is something, we haven't seen anything like this since the Second World War. And they're averaging 6,000 or 7,000 a week between the two of them, dead soldiers. And it goes on, and I think they're getting reasonably close, but I don't want to predict. I would have said that would have been one of my early ones. I did 8 peace deals of countries, including in India, Pakistan. You could even go, in fact, they're coming here in a week or two, go to the Congo and Rwanda. That was 10 million people dead, and we worked something out on that. But so many, and the one I thought would have been, for me, because I have a very good relationship with President Putin, I thought that would have been maybe quicker. But it does take 2 to tango. And now you just see all the death. And, it doesn't affect us other than the fact that we don't want to see all those people. That really, it's on the other side of the ocean. It's a war that should have never happened. It did happen. I blame the person also sitting right behind this desk. This is a war that should have never happened, and it wouldn't have happened if I were president. But we're trying to save a lot of lives. They're losing 25, think of that, 25,000 lives over the last short period of time. That's Ukrainian and Russian, and it's a shame.
What happens if President? I want to ask the mayor-elect about a House resolution just passed overwhelmingly to condemn socialism, including with 86 Democrats, all of House Dem leadership, and the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, despite his endorsement of you. What's your reaction to that?
I have to be honest with you, I focused very little on resolutions. Frankly, I've been focusing.
Condemn socialism.
I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about ideology, but the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
And I want to clarify your answer to Stephen Nelson. He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist. And your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
And Mr. President, I wanted to ask you also about this Ukraine plan.
Yeah.
President Zelensky said today that his country would risk either giving up a partner or giving up its dignity. There's been criticism that this deal...
You mean he doesn't like it?
It's unclear. He was sort of
Well,
pretending...
he'll have to like it, and if he doesn't like it, then, they should just keep fighting, I guess,
The suggestion that you made, though, was that if he doesn't accept it, that the U.S. would pull back its support for Ukraine. Is that
Well, at some
accurate?
point, he's going to have to accept something. He hasn't accepted. You remember right in the Oval Office not so long ago, I said, you don't have the cards. Don't forget, I inherited this war. This war never would have happened. I inherited this war. And I thought he should have made a deal a year ago, 2 years ago. The ultimate deal would have been if it never started. That would have been the good deal. That could have been done too if you had the right president, but you didn't have the right president.
Mr. President, cost of living is something that you and Mr. Mamdani seem to agree on.
Right.
Democrats have run New York City for a long time, Mr. Mamdani. Do you see Democrat policy specifically as being a problem? And I'd like that to be a question that both of you could answer in New York City.
Look, I think that there are many things in our city where we have to own the responsibility of it, things that existed long before the president was the president. And those are also part of the message of our campaign, was to take on a broken politics of the past. And I ran against a number of candidates who represented different versions of that past. And what we found time and again is that working people were left behind in the politics of our city. And what we're looking to do is put those people right back at the heart of our politics so that we don't have a situation where we're in the wealthiest city in the history of the world, and yet 1 in 5 can't even afford $2.90 for a Metro card.
We had some interesting conversation, and some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have. But a big thing on cost, the new word is affordability. Another word is just groceries. It's sort of an old-fashioned word, but it's very accurate. And they're coming down high. They were, we had, both of us, we had the highest inflation in the history of our country the last 4 years under the Biden administration. And we've got inflation down now to a normal number. It's going to go even a little bit lower than that. Katie, do you have something in a bit?
Mr. President, thank you so much. Mr. Mamdani often talks about New York City being covered by international law, that they will follow international law. Doesn't often talk about the U.S. Constitution. What is your response to that?
Well, I don't know what you're referring to in terms of it could be covered by international law, local law. It's covered by a lot of laws, but it's covered by U.S. law. Are you referring to anything in particular?
He just says that they're a city that endorses and enforces international law. Is that at odds with?
No, I don't know. Would you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I think what I've shared with the president is our desire to not only follow the laws of our own city, laws that protect New Yorkers, but also a desire for consistency in our politics across the board. And that's something that we've talked about and something that I know many New Yorkers want. We discussed ICE and New York City, and I spoke about how the laws that we have in New York City allow for New York City government to speak to the federal administration for about 170 serious crimes. The concerns that many New Yorkers have are around the enforcement of immigration laws on New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, and most recently we're talking about a mother and her 2 children, how this has very little to do with what that is.
What we did is we discussed crime. More than ICE per se, we discussed crime. And he doesn't want to see crime, and I don't want to see crime. And I have very little doubt that we're not going to get along on that issue. He wants to, and he said some things that were very interesting as to housing construction, and he wants to see houses go up. He wants to see a lot of houses created, a lot of apartments built, et cetera. And, we actually, people would be shocked, but I want to see the same thing.
Mr. Mamdani, anti-Israel protesters
Jack?
Mr. President, I wanted to know, one of the policies as well that Mayor-elect Mondami talked a number of times about on the campaign was shifting the tax burden for property taxes from what he called minority communities to white-based communities and putting more taxes on white people. I also noticed that in your acceptance speech you didn't mention anything about America or Christians or white people in general, and so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys had spoken about.
We focused on affordability. We focused on the cost of living crisis. What I will say is that I am very much interested in property tax reform because what we see right now in New York City is a system that is so inequitable that it can't even stand up in court. And the President and I spoke about the importance of not only building more housing, but also making sure that regulation of housing is something that is manageable to actually get through and not the cause of yet another weight that we see in our
But to
city.
be clear, you're continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear,
That's what you said.
no, the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
Please, go ahead.
Mr. Mondani, anti-Israel protesters just targeted a synagogue in New York. Are you concerned about Jewish New Yorkers feeling welcome and safe in the city? And President Trump, you threatened to cut off federal funding to New York City. What policies would prompt you to do that? Would that be city-run grocery stores? Would it be something else?
Well, I think if we didn't get along, whether it's cut off or just make it a little bit difficult or not give as much, we want to see, I use the term, we don't want good money going after bad. And we don't want that to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I did say that, subject to what policies are being set. We had a meeting today that actually surprised me. He wants to see no crime. He wants to see housing being built. He wants to see rents coming down, all things that I agree with. Now, we may disagree how we get there. The rent coming down, I think one of the things I really gleaned very much today, he'd like to see him come down, ideally, by building a lot of additional housing.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate way. He agrees with that, and so do I. But if I read the newspapers and the stories, I don't hear that. But I heard him say it today, and I think that's a very positive step. No, I don't expect. I expect to be helping him, not hurting him. A big help, because I want New York City to be great. Look, I love New York City. It's where I come from. I spent a lot of years there. Now I'm right here. We took a big setback with the mayor that we had, Dave de Blasio. I thought it was a tremendous setback for the city. I think this mayor can do some things that are going to be really great.
Mr. President.
Okay, how about you? Go ahead, please.
You're a billionaire. You have a different address nowadays than you used to, but you used to call New York City home. Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mondani administration?
Yeah, I would. I really would. Especially after the meeting. Absolutely.
What makes you comfortable?
We agree on a lot more than I would have thought. I think I want him to do a great job, and we'll help him do a great job. He may have different views, but in many ways, we were discussing when Bernie Sanders was out of the race, I picked up a lot of his votes, and people had no idea, because he was strong on not getting ripped off in trade and lots of the things that I've practiced and been very successful on. Tariffs, a lot of things. Bernie Sanders and I agreed on much more than people thought. And when he was put out of the race, I think quite unfairly, if you want to know the truth, many of the Bernie Sanders voters voted for me. And I felt very comfortable, frankly, in seeing that and saying that. And, it just turned out to be a statistical truth. But, no, I feel very comfortable. I would feel very, very comfortable being in New York, and I think much more so after the meeting. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for you, but a very quick one for
Please.
the mayor. Why did you fly here? Aren't trains greener?
I will use every form of transit, and I want to make sure that they're all affordable in New York City, and that's why making buses fast and free is a centerpiece of our campaign.
There is a bus that
Well,
goes.
but I know, but if he flew, that's a lot quicker too. He's working very hard. For him to be, that's a very long drive. I'll stick up for you. The plane takes you 30 minutes and driving takes you a
And
long
Mr.
time.
President, I was wondering if you could clear up some confusion around a Washington Post report. There was this explosive report that the Coast Guard is no longer going to characterize swastikas and nooses as hate symbols. DHS called that a lie and fake news. Can you clear up?
I don't know anything about it. When was this written?
I think yesterday.
Well, look, the Coast Guard's an incredible group of people. I know them very well. We just ordered a lot of new Coast Guard cutters, beautiful, the most magnificent ship. They look like yachts with lots of guns on them. So I don't know. I haven't seen any report like that, but certainly we want them to remain a great force, and they are.
Mr. President, and you did a piece in all the 9 months
Yes.
around the world. I would like to ask Mr. Mamdani, you've accused the U.S. government of committing genocide in Gaza while President Trump was working on peace. Why that?
I've spoken about the Israeli government committing genocide, and I've spoken about our government funding it. And I shared with the president in our meeting about the concern that many New Yorkers have of wanting their tax dollars to go towards the benefit of New Yorkers and their ability to afford basic dignity. And what we see right now is we're in the 9th consecutive year of more than 100,000 school children being homeless in our city. And there's a desperate need not only for the following of human rights, but also the following through on the promises we've made to New Yorkers. And I appreciated the meeting we had and the work that we can do.
Do you agree that President Trump did do a peace and worked hard to make the peace? Because he worked hard to do the peace in the Middle East and everywhere. Do you agree with that?
I appreciate all efforts towards peace, and I shared with President Trump that when I spoke to Trump voters on Hillside Avenue, including one of whom was a pharmacist that spoke about how President Trump's father actually went to that pharmacy not too far from Jamaica Estates, that people were tired of seeing our tax dollars fund endless wars. And I also believe that we have to follow through on the international human rights, and I know that still today those are being violated, and that continues to be work that has to be done no matter where we're speaking of.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. Do you view the mayor-elect as the true leader of the Democrat Party? And do you think Leader Schumer's and Leader Jeffries, have to follow his lead?
Well, look, I hope they have great leaders. This is a man that right now I think is focused on New York City. I really think he has a chance to do a great job. We're going to help him, but I really think he has a chance to do a great job. But I'll let you answer that. You consider yourself the leader of the Democrats? I think it's more appropriate for him.
I consider myself the next mayor of New York City, and I keep my horizons firmly on New York City, and I appreciate the meeting with the president, which focused again on the 5 boroughs and whether New Yorkers could afford to live there.
By the way, being the mayor of New York City is a big deal.
Absolutely.
I always said, one of the things I would have loved to be someday is the mayor of New York City. Being the mayor of New York, and especially now, because I think you're at really a turning point, one way or the other. It could go great, or it can go in a different direction. And I think you really have a chance to make it great. I appreciate what you're saying.
Mr. President, you say you love New York City. Mr. Mamdani, does New York City love President Trump?
New York City loves a future that is affordable, and I can tell you that there were more New Yorkers who voted for President Trump in the most recent presidential election because of that focus on cost of living, and I'm looking forward to working together to deliver on that affordability agenda.
I got a lot of votes. One more. Go ahead. 1 or 2 more. Go ahead.
Okay, we have been listening in to quite the conversation here, question and answer portion. Of course, the actual meeting between President Trump and New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani was not for cameras to see, but those cameras came into the Oval Office ready for that question and answer portion. Donald Trump, 79 years old, Zohran Mamdani, 34 years old, and of course, Donald Trump, a Republican. Zohran Mamdani will be the youngest and the first Muslim mayor of New York City, but both share that connection to New York City for sure. And what's been really interesting to see is how much they have focused on their places of agreement. They have both called the meeting that they had today productive. They talked about the voters who voted for both of them and some of the reasons why. They said that they are reconciling some of their issues. Speaking of issues, of course, during the campaign season, President Trump called Mamdani 100% communist lunatic. He called him a total nut job. He threatened to pull funding. Today, he said he expects to help him and not to hurt him. Mamdani called President Trump during the campaign season authoritarian, called him his worst nightmare. And today, he said that they have a cost of living and affordability crisis that he believes Donald Trump can help him with. President Trump at one point in time during the question and answer portion said that Mamdani is going to change in some of his views, but he also admitted that he himself has changed some of his views since taking office. And he said, I think this mayor can do some things that will be really great. And we agree on more than I thought. So a very interesting, maybe to say the least, but moment between there, again, President Donald Trump and New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, where they are both talking about their places of agreement and some ways to move forward here. So a peaceful moment, if you will. 3:05, let's take a quick break. And when we come back from it, we're going to bring in Sheriff Robert Goldsmith from Tippecanoe County Sheriff's Office for a conversation on quite the effort they have made to connect with the youth. Okay, I'm gonna say it because I it's one of the most popular phrases out for 2025, and who knows if it'll still be in for 2026. But this whole 6-7 thing, and nobody really understands it. But it's been pretty awesome to see how the Sheriff's Office in Tippecanoe County in Indiana have worked to connect with the youth on this moment that is being had. So Sheriff Robert Goldsmith is joining me now. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I think this is so cute. You know, again, if we don't even know really what 6-7 means, it's annoying to some, flattering to others. Nobody fully understands it, but you were giving, or your office was giving elementary students tickets for saying 6-7. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So the way this came about, we have 7 school resource officers, or SROs, that do an outstanding job connecting with the youth. And I know this 6-7 thing is a fad, a trend, whatever. I have absolutely no idea what it means. But I thought, hey, you know what? Let's do something fun with them, try to connect with them in a positive way, and show the community here what we're doing in the schools to make those connections. And I gave the SROs an idea, and they ran with it. So it can't believe the traction it got and how many people it's actually reached. That was not the intent. It was just to show the citizens that we serve what's going on in their schools.
And so it was a video that's now gone viral here of them giving these tickets out in the school cafeteria and the classrooms. What rises to the level? Is it just anytime they say it, they get a ticket, or what rises to the level of getting the ticket?
Oh yeah, anytime they say, that we're going to hand out a ticket. But I think for the audience, so we can clarify, because there are some people that actually think we were giving tickets and violating their freedom of speech, and that couldn't be further from the truth. When I talked to the SROs, and they knew this, but I wanted to say it, is we need to make sure we are including the students and the administration in the entire process.
Yeah.
So in a sense, kind of, yeah, it was staged. The kids knew what was going on. And if you watch the raw video with no music or anything, the decibel level in that school when they were going to the cafeteria at the beginning was really, really loud. The kids all wanted a ticket. I think we had 67 of them, to be exact, to hand out. But when the SRO, Fraser, when she's up on the stage and she's making them fly in the air, Emily, who did the video for us, she had to edit it because the cafeteria, they all piled on each other trying to get a ticket. So I want people to understand that it wasn't, we just walked in the school and surprised everybody. The kids were all involved. The young lady that got the ticket, some have said, oh, she looks scared. I think she was trying not to laugh because there was a lot of kids that wanted that role, but she got picked. So yeah, it was just all, it was a great way to just connect with the kids and have some fun with this saying that's going around that the adults, we don't have a clue what it means, and I don't
No
even think the kids know
clue.
what it means. They're just having fun.
No clue. None of us. And I've heard so many different things. So it really, one, thank you for your transparency there, because that's one of the hardest things in the social media generation, that, a video without context can be taken many ways.
Absolutely. And the thing I found is some news outlets were posting just that sheriff's handing out the tickets, and there wasn't the video, and you really had to get down to the bottom of the article to see that it was all fake. Well, a lot of people don't scroll down, or they're not a subscriber, so they're not seeing that it was fake. So we had several comments that were negative. I got an email from a gentleman in another state that hadn't watched the video. So Google's your friend. I called him at work. We had a conversation, and I explained to him what was going on. That's just how I am. It's not trying to be confrontational. It's trying to explain to folks that, this is exactly what we're doing here. And I encourage the citizens here and anywhere, they can call me anytime. It's the way I've ran the office. My time as being sheriff is just, I don't have somebody that answers the phone for me or answers my email. I do it. So I've encouraged people, just reach out if you have a question with what we're doing here.
Yeah, and that's someone states away. What have the parents who are right there in your county said to you about all of this?
There have been some negative comments on social media. A lot of those are people with fake accounts. The ones that have 3 friends and sticks as a profile picture. They've been negative, but overwhelmingly, it's been positive. For example, my family, we were out to dinner the other night, and a young lady came up, tapped me on the shoulder, a little student, and she did 6'7". I'm like, oh man, the whole restaurant on that side, they're all laughing. Our commissioners meeting the other day, they started off saying 6'7". Just at lunch this afternoon, a lady said, Sheriff, I really appreciate what you guys are doing there, making connections with the youth in the way that you are. So the positives far outweigh the negatives, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
If they can't see the humor in it and think we're violating people's First Amendment rights, even when I explain it to them, that's on them, not me.
Yeah, community engagement is so important for law enforcement, and especially for youth to see you all, having fun with something. So I know that moment where the young lady approached you had to mean a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and we both laughed. She wasn't scared, obviously. She came up and tapped on my shoulder while we were eating dinner, so that's what it's about. We're human beings. Kind of liken it to when you're a kid in school and you see your teacher at the grocery store the first time, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're a real person.
Yeah.
They're shopping. We're the same way. We have families. We have kids. We're not perfect. We're just like everyone else that's in the community that we serve.
Yeah.
We're a citizen too.
Yeah. What guidance or what was the conversation like with the educators there when you wanted to do this?
That was completely up to the SROs. I talked to the superintendent after the fact, and I know they were included before, but they loved it. That particular school, my wife's in that school regularly. My kids went to that school. A lot of the officers, people, my teammates here, their kids are in that school. We know the staff. I'm sure they were on board. If they had any negative feelings about it, we wouldn't have done it. That's just the way I run things.
Yeah. And given the mixed reviews, if you will, overwhelmingly positive, but,
Sure.
having to deal with the negative too, would you do another campaign that could go viral?
I will tell you this. I was in the process of working on something else when this came up, so stay tuned.
Awesome. Talk about the role of SROs, because it's so difficult to kind of toe that line of being the person that people can go to confide in,
Yes.
but also fun.
Absolutely. And the role, it's different. And the way we handle it here is, what does the school want that role to be? Yes, they're an officer. Yes, they're in uniform somewhat. But what is their ultimate goal with an SRO? Now, some school corporations are going to want that officer to be the police in the school and walking around and helping with discipline and all that. We have not taken that approach. The superintendent and I were on the same page with it. We want our SROs in the school building a positive relationship. Are there times they're involved in the discipline? Absolutely. But we want them putting on programs for kids, having conversations with them, just engaging with them in a positive way, mentoring to some, if you will. We have an officer here, a deputy, that he got into law enforcement because of the SRO in his school. So that's what we want. There are times that they do get involved in discipline or some type of investigation. Those are few and far between. But we want them in there again, and I know we keep saying this, but it's about building relationship. Those kids, they're the future of our community. They're the future of this nation, and we got to do what we can here. And I say little old Tippecanoe County, but we have 213,000 residents, a Big Ten university. We have a lot of stuff going on here. And if we can do what we can to make a positive relationship with our future, we're all going to be better off.
Yeah, it really goes a long way. So thank you so much for taking time out on this Friday to chat with me. And thank you again for thinking of new ways to reach the youth, even if it drives all of us adults insane.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, can you imagine what it'd be like when everybody was saying, "What's up?" if social media was out then, or anything?
You mean that we made our parents insane too?
Oh, yeah.
Never. Never.
I'm going to say I'm north of 50 years old, and there's probably still things I do that annoy my parents. So the holidays are coming up, so kids are still, and adults are going to annoy their parents.
It's just a part of life.
Absolutely.
Thanks so
again.
much.
Really
Great chatting with you. Absolutely.
You too.
Happy holidays to you.
Yeah, and you as well.
Thank you. All right, 3:18, everyone. Let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back with a conversation that also revolves around youth, but parents and guardians. If you're getting ready to buy some gifts for the holiday season, you definitely don't want to miss this. 3:20 right now, and advocacy groups are urging parents to avoid AI toys this holiday season. Yeah, we think about AI and the benefits and risks to it for just about everything, but really haven't thought about toys. So let's go ahead and bring in Rachel Franz of Fair Play to talk to us a little bit more about this. Is this like just where we're going with things? I mean, what does an AI toy consist of?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's confusing when we first say it out loud. So if I explain an AI toy simply, it's an everyday children's toy in which there is embedded an AI called companion AI. It's the same AI that's used in chatbots that we've been hearing about, the same chatbots that are having romantic and sexually explicit relationships with teens, encouraging them to self-harm and commit acts of violence, and in some cases, it's ended in death by suicide. So that same technology is being put in cute teddy bears, kid-friendly robots.
Oh
they
my
are
goodness.
Cute, they are potentially cuddly, and they're being marketed to children as young as infants.
I'm rarely at a loss for words. That is horrifying to even think about. I mean, is it something that we're seeing a lot of already, or is this kind of emerging?
I would say, so we're seeing widespread adoption in China and increasing adoption in the US. Just this year is when we've seen a few AI toys on the shelves at Walmart and Costco, so where consumers can have them at their fingertips, and many being sold online in popular marketplaces. And I think AI is developing so rapidly, and I think companies know that there is money in selling to kids, and the AI toy market is expected to be, within the next 10 years, estimates range from $106 billion market to $275 billion market. So the money is there, and we're seeing more and more of these toys come forward.
It makes me think of like Chucky, or I mean, the things that were in horror movies when we were growing up as kids.
Yeah, it's Chucky, but it's plus endless data collection. And we found that these toys have a great risk of surveilling children in their most intimate setting at home. And if these toys are really designed to engender trust in the user. They say over and over again, "You can trust me." I've even had one that I've tested tell me, that it can keep my secrets. And so children are putting trust in these toys. And when children love their toys, they take them everywhere. And that can include bath time, getting dressed, at the dinner table when families are having private conversations. So the risks of privacy breaches and just excessive surveillance are very high here.
And what is regulation like for this stuff?
Yeah, just like with AI in general in the US, regulation's very limited. Right now, one of the laws that does apply here is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPPA, and that is meant to protect children under 13 from having their personally identifiable information collected and sold to third parties without parental consent. What we've seen from these toys, though, is that the ask for consent by families is not clear and might just be assumed when you purchase the toy. So it means that where data is going is not clear in most of these cases. And in fact, we've even seen some privacy policies that say, we don't deal with children, so we're going to sell your data to all of these companies who will use it to target you further in advertising and marketing, and it's potential that strangers can get this information. Several years ago, we saw a couple of cases with Wi-Fi connected toys where the data was so hackable that strangers were showing up outside of children's houses because they had their address. And we definitely don't want to see a repeat of that here.
Are there any bright spots or any possible positives to this type of technology being used for toys? I mean, I'm sure you all have faced backlash over the years fighting against it. So what were some of the arguments made for it?
Well, these toys are marketed as educational, as screen-free alternatives, and as inspiring, boost your imagination and those sorts of things. We've looked really closely into the potential for this learning, and it's possible that for slightly older kids, they could learn a few facts, maybe be entertained. But from what we're seeing, there's just not enough research for us to be able to say that any of those potential tiny benefits would outweigh all of these risks. And I think it's not only their privacy, but the ways that these toys interact can really impact children's social emotional development, their brain development, their resilience. And there's actually been recent research that's come out from U.S. Public Interest Research Group that has shown that some of these toys are themselves exposing children to sexually explicit conversations, teaching them how to light matches, teaching them where to find knives. And the red flags are very red, and it's why we put out an advisory this week to urge families to keep them on the shelves, to keep them out of their shopping carts right now at this holiday season when there's simply so much that we don't know about them.
Yeah, and I'm seeing here that most of them would be sold online here in the U.S. versus being able to go into a store and buy them. Is that correct?
There's a toy called Miko that is available at Costco. We've seen photos of it on the shelves this holiday season, as well as on Walmart shelves. And I would say online is kind of the primary place where people are buying them.
Yeah. What's your greatest concern as the world just kind of adopts AI into everything more and more moving forward?
Yeah. One thing that we prioritize at Fair Play is just stopping for a beat and asking the question, is this good for kids? And I think that with technology, time and time again, things have come out without putting children's best interests first. Here is we have a big risk with AI when it is so unprecedented to do that again, but in a potentially bigger and more harmful way. So I think that this is a really important chance for us to take a beat and really think intentionally about how AI moves forward, especially as it pertains to children.
Absolutely. Rachel, thank you so much for your time and sharing with us this important information that we should all consider moving into the holiday season.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's about 3:30 right now. We'll be right back. 3:33. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Chicago Live. So just a bit more time with you today, and at ChicagoHonor.com, $17 ensures that a veteran's grave will have a wreath on Christmas morning. And yet, the Abraham Lincoln National Cemetery, which is the second largest in the country, right here in Illinois, is about 50,000 wreaths short of being able to put wreaths on every veteran's grave for Christmas, as they try to ensure happens each and every year. David Bolser, the CEO and founder at Senior Veterans Incorporated, is joining me now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
I am the daughter of a veteran, and so this definitely sits on my heart in maybe a different way from some folks. I can't fathom you all ending up 50,000 short. Is this different from most years at this point in time?
No, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not. And the reason that it's this way is because it's not publicized. That's what we do. We're a donor. Senior Veterans Inc., we set up the site ChicagoHonor.com. And so we are a donor. And our goal is to attract more donors, because it's this way every single year. And it's a sad statement. The saddest statement of all is that in a cemetery the size of Abraham Lincoln National Cemetery, about 2,000 to 3,000 interments happen there every single year. Those are burials.
Yeah.
And this will be those families' first year without their veteran. And so our goal was to get this site set up at ChicagoHonor.com so that anybody, whether they've just recently lost their veteran that's buried there or whatever, or veterans have been buried there years past, they can go to ChicagoHonor.com, and when they donate a wreath, they can specify that they want that wreath or wreaths placed on specific graves there, and it'll be done. So it's extremely personal.
Yeah.
And the whole situation with the number of wreaths, I liken it to Memorial Day. And you go to a cemetery on Memorial Day. This would be like going to Abraham Lincoln National Cemetery on Memorial Day and finding out that 80% of those graves don't have an American flag in front of them. And it's all about getting the word out, publicity like this. Your show, for example, gets to families, people get to know about this, and then they will react accordingly. They'll tell other people and so forth. So it's all about getting this publicized. The wreaths are only $17. They're live fir wreaths that come from Maine. They'll be shipped there. They'll be placed on December the 13th. And they'll remain there on the gravestones until about the second week of January. So it's just exceedingly important to get this word out to people in Chicago. I'm a Chicago native.
Wonderful.
And my dad was World War II veteran. He is not buried there. He's buried in Oak Lawn, as a matter of fact. But when our charity first started this, we're based in Colorado Springs, Colorado. So we started this in Colorado. And then our board members picked particular national cemeteries that were important to us for various reasons. So I picked Abraham Lincoln. I'm obviously a Chicago native. But this message is for those families that have no idea that they could donate a wreath and have it placed on their loved one's grave. And they could share it with other people. And it's a sad statement, but the only reason that it happens is because it's not publicized. That's all. That's all.
So typically, once you do start to get the word out, do you end up with the 68,000 that you need by Christmas?
It's never happened before. It's never happened where there's 100% at the cemetery. But every little piece helps. A program like this, I always say it's the straw that stirs the drink. You get people that notice it, they'll tell other people and so forth. So the goal obviously is for 100% coverage. Abraham Lincoln
national cemeteries never had it. Most national cemeteries that we work with have never had that. Some come close, um, but it's a sad statement. It really is a sad statement. And so, thankfully, somebody from your station there reached out to us. You know, we sent a press release. They reached out to us, and you're airing this. And Chicago's a big place. A lot of veterans, and a lot of families that I'm sure that have veterans that are buried there.
Yeah, well, we're grateful for your father's service, and I'm seeing here that the order deadline, everyone, is midnight on Thanksgiving Day.
Yes, and that's a really tough. It's a hard deadline. If it comes the next day, those wreaths will not be placed. They will not be placed. So we're trying to get this out to everybody now, and thankfully for stations like yours and so forth, and getting the word out. This is especially important for those families. Think about those 2,000 to 3,000 Chicago families, that this is going to be the very first Christmas without their loved one. The very first one. It's going to be a tough one. So thank you so much for getting this word out. And go to ChicagoHonor.com. You see the whole story. Do it now, and it'll make an impact. It will make an impact.
We're so grateful to be a part of, helping you. What do you think needs to be done differently in the future to, get more people like staying on board, to not have to go through the hoops and hurdles every year?
We add more donors every year, obviously, and that helps. No question about that. But the whole thing is about publicity, letting people know that they can do this. So we work really hard with the television stations there in Chicago, and we've got some PSAs out that are running in Chicago. We've got an ad buy running in Chicago, and that's the most important thing, is just getting the word out. Once somebody donates, they're usually a donor for a long, long time, and then they can ask other people as well to do the same thing. But nobody knows about it. Everybody knows about Memorial Day. Everybody. It's just a tradition that's gone on for years. There's an American flag in front of every gravestone on Memorial Day. They don't know about this. So it's December 13th is when they'll place the wreaths. But the deadline is Thanksgiving Day at midnight. So it's just real critical that there's family, friends, Facebook, businesses, incredible businesses in Chicago, small business, medium, large businesses, and so forth. They can get involved with this as well. And that's a huge part of this. Big contributors and so forth, or small contributors, but every wreath is just $17. And that's, we always say that it's $17 honors a glorious life.
I love that.
So the opportunity to be on your show, that's the biggest thing today. Biggest thing today.
I'm glad to hear that. Are there ways that people can help in terms of actually volunteering? Who does the placement?
Who does the placement? We get the wreaths donated to us. We sequester the money. We send the money minus our operating expenses to Wreaths Across America. That's where the wreaths come from. They're the supplier, and they're in charge of the event. And the event is open to the public. So we list the event times on our website, ChicagoHonor.com. So anybody that attends that event on the 13th of December, they'll go to the event, and then they'll be asked to participate in the placement of the wreaths. And it's real touching the way that they do it, because they take the wreath, some of them kneel down and some of them just stand up and so forth, and they place the wreath in front of the grave, and they read the name that's on the gravestone out loud, and then they stand up and salute, and It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. What does it mean to
Wonderful.
you to be able to honor your father's legacy of service in this way?
Um, it's obviously it's a wonderful thing. I'm not a veteran. Now my dad enlisted right out of Argo High School in '43. World War II vet, served with Pat and Battle of the Bulge and so forth. My oldest son, he's a major in the Army, stationed in Stuttgart. He'll soon be lieutenant colonel this year. So he's a sandwich. I'm a sandwich. I'm right in the middle and so forth. I was in college, freshman year in college, when I was eligible for the draft, and obviously I had a deferment. And then the lottery came out in 1970. I still had the deferment, but my number was like 300 and something. So I didn't serve, but I think it's important, and I do this like once a month. I'll walk through Fort Logan in Denver, and I just walk through the gravestones and see all the gravestones. And I think it's important for people because I think it levels you out. You pinch yourself and you go, had it not be for all of these, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing.
Right.
Like my dad or my son.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The cost of freedom.
The cost of freedom.
Yeah. Thank you so much for what you do on a regular basis.
So I'm so grateful that you put this on your show today, because that's what will impact these families. Imagine these families that have heard this for the first time, that they can get a wreath on their loved one's grave. So ChicagoHonor.com. Do it now. Do it now.
I hope that you're flooded. I hope that you're flooded with people who want to help out. This is a wonderful cause. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
3:45, everyone. We'll be right back. about 350. Chris K in the house. Thank you so much for coming up here.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
All right, let's talk about what's going on this weekend in sports. It's a biggie, but let's start with what happened last night. The Blackhawks were in play.
They were in play, and they were winning, but then lost 3-2. I know we talked about this yesterday. We talked about the Blackhawks and these young guys growing a little hair in their chest a little bit, kind of growing up. But there's still some road bumps for younger teams and that kind of stuff. And I think that last night was a good example of it. And Seattle's not a bad team either. That's an experienced team. So it's kind of.
Is Seattle the Kraken?
They are.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
I don't follow the NHL as much as, say football or the NBA, but you were saying you've seen these bright spots. So even the fact that it's 3-2, the 2 kind of suggests something in and of itself, correct?
No, it does. And I think it's one of those things where you look back at a 3-2 loss where you blow a lead. You don't want to see a team blow it, especially a lead. But if you're the Blackhawks, those are kinds of things where you kind of have to understand, well, this is how you put a team away. It's kind of similar to the Bears, where, they've been winning those close games. The Blackhawks were on the back end of it the other night, but 62 games or something in an NHL season compared to 16, 17 and a football season where I think it's those learning curves that the Blackhawks need to undergo a little bit. But I mean, they got good news today. They're bringing their black jerseys back.
I saw that.
That's massive. If you're into the vibes, which a lot of people are in this uniform era too. So that's really cool news for the Blackhawks.
All right, let's move on to the Bears. Huge game this weekend. I mean, I don't know if it's huge, but because it's going to be at home and, we're just ready for another win, we're going to say it's huge. It's against the Steelers, and we're looking to see if a certain someone is on the other side.
Yeah, he's listed as questionable for the game on Sunday. The official Steelers injury report came down. He's questionable. I think he'll play, considering what we've heard, what we've seen from the staff, especially the last couple hours where Mike Tomlin was talking about it. They say, look, it looked better, but there's still ways to go, but that's why there's a couple more days until Sunday. So I think he'll play. I think the Bears will go up against him on Sunday, and that's going to be a big test because the Bears injury report came out, and they will be down their top 3 linebackers.
Ooh!
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow, especially when, if you lose TJ Edwards, who's been out with a broken hand and I think a hamstring injury too. But Tremaine Edmonds has been fantastic.
He really has.
And I mean, he's tied to second on the team with 4 interceptions. I mean, that's incredible. And he was playing the middle linebacker spot with TJ Edwards, who was the middle linebacker, and Noah Sewell was the outside. So
and Sewell's out too.
Yeah, he's out too, and he's been a guy that's earned a lot of trust. He came in when TJ was hurt and was playing a little bit at middle, also allowing Tremaine to play on the outside, but Tremaine kind of shifted back to middle. But I think that right there was a good combination, is kind of seeing how deep they are. But man, that depth is really tested when you're down 3 guys.
Oof. Is this the game we want to be tested in? I mean, I guess, I don't know. There's never a good time for it.
No, there's not. But in this specific instance, I mean, you want to see what you're made of. I mean, this is really a gut check game. It was before, but I mean, now it is, especially now that guys like Ruben Hippolyte was a rookie, and he's going to be asked to take a lot of defensive snaps this week. And then also, DeMarco Jackson was a guy that was brought in to be a special teams guy. And now he's going to be a defensive guy and a special teams guy, too.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I look at Kalmanon guy. When he got his moment, he took it and literally ran with it.
Quite literally. Yeah. But that's also a thing. I mean, that's also a thing with this Bears team. I mean, when I was talking to them all week, and one of the things that I wrote in a story this morning, which is, hey, these guys, we're looking around at, why are they winning games now? And a lot of it is belief. And Tyreek Stevenson had a good point when I asked him, why do you feel like? He's like, well, we've been in the trenches. Last year we lost so many of these games, and we know how to lose, but we also know what it feels like to lose. And now we know when we're in those moments, we're not going to have the same kind of mentality or the same kind of feelings, that we know how to shake out of that. We know how to shake out of that really quick. And it was a really good point by Tyreek, but a lot of every other player that I talked to, a lot of other players that I talked to about that would look at me and say, well, it's Ben Johnson. He's instilled that belief in this team, and that's the kind of thing you're like,
yeah,
hey, that's pretty good. This coach has got some. He's got a little moxie to him. So that's why when Ruben has to step in, or DeMarco, or maybe a special teams guy like Amen Agbagamiga, who might have to step in and take in some defensive snaps. they believe they can do it because they got a coach that's still in that confidence in them.
Well, confidence goes a long way, especially in sports. It really does go a long way in life for anyone, but especially in sports. What's up with the Bulls? Where are we? When's the next game?
I have to check the schedule for the next game. I believe it's tonight. I believe it's against the Miami Heat. And
Okay.
Miami Heat are going to be without Tyler Hero and a few other key players. I think that's one of those interesting games for the Bulls where it's like, you got to take care of business. You really got to take care of business against a team like that, where if you're missing key guys, I mean, Tyler is a dude that was a 6-man, worked his way into a starring role with the Heat, and that's like, oh, okay, like that's impressive, but you don't have to worry about guarding him tonight. At the UC, I expect it's going to be rocking. The UC is always rocking.
I was just about to say, the UC is always rocking when the Bulls are home. It's great to see. It's great to see. And great to have you up here to kind of go over it all. Now, what are you working on for this evening?
Oh, this evening, it's looking ahead to tomorrow. Tomorrow's a big college football day.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Big noon.
Big noon kickoff. And Wrigley Field will be hopping with Northwestern and Minnesota. That's a big one. But we're also watching some of the college football playoff. And there's a lot of, what's a good word for it? Terse conversations people are having about this. The drama is there because we have a team.
It's always there.
I feel like ever since they brought it in 15, it has just never stopped. But now that it's 12 teams, everybody wants a piece of the pie. And, we got a team out in South Bend that's trying its best to stay in that hunt right now. They're ranked 9th in the nation. They're trying to maybe move up one more spot. They would host a game in the playoff, which would be incredible considering where they started at 0-2. But the discussions and the drama is, well, why should Notre Dame be that high when a lot of other teams maybe have a really solid resume?
It always comes. That conversation's always going to come around. I feel like this time every year we're having arguments about that in terms of someone who a team has played, the depth of their schedule, versus where they are in terms of wins and losses. I feel like we always have that conversation. Okay, so our if we kind of go around in terms of where our regional teams are and how they're looking going into December. So. Indiana, surprising.
Oh, that's my national championship favorite right there.
Ooh, really? Oh, that's bold. Okay, but they're doing great.
And they're doing incredible. And come December 2nd, I think December 6th, excuse me, the Big Ten championship game right here on Fox will probably be against Ohio State and Indiana. So we'll see, the unstoppable force, the immovable object, what wins in this specific instance. I think it's going to be Indiana.
Oh, right.
So that'll be fun. Yeah.
Okay, and then you mentioned Notre Dame. Northwest, it was beautiful seeing Northwestern in Wrigley. The last game that they played in there, I was like, man, I should be in there. I mean, it's just amazing to see.
It is so much fun. They were this close to pulling off an upset against Michigan too.
Yeah.
It was a packed Michigan house too. A lot of Michigan fans showed up for it.
They weren't far. You knew they were going to come. They travel well.
They do travel real well. But they were maybe one or two plays away. But now they have to win. On Saturday, they have to win. They have 2 chances left to win and clinch a bowl game. Okay. Then next week, the last chance, if they don't win this weekend, is against Illinois in Champaign.
I was just going to ask. Okay, so the Illini, how are we? The Illini, the ranking at the beginning of the season versus where we are now is a little puzzling.
It is a little puzzling, but that's what happens when you lose games in the season. That's what happens when you can't sustain that success. I thought 10-2 might be a good enough spot to get them in the playoff or kind of be in the conversation, but when you lose 63-7 to Indiana and you can't take care of business after that, that's where it gets a little rough.
Chris K doesn't hold anything back, as you can see. So great having you up here. And thanks everybody for hanging with us today on Chicago Live. We want you to have a great weekend. You can see the streets are already blocked off for the tree lighting tonight, but have fun if you're going out. Chris Kendall Market is also opening up tonight. So plenty going on. The Magnificent Lights will be happening. That parade is tomorrow. And then the Bears will be playing on Sunday. So much happening, and we'll be covering it all. Stay right here.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
Right now, a floor of Cook County leaders extending grace to homeowners who are facing sticker shock on their property taxes.
Nursing is no longer considered a professional degree. How this could impact already overwhelmed healthcare systems.
Actions speak louder than words. An Indiana hospital announces a round of layoffs